Hey, what's up, YouTube? We are live. I am here with two guests today. Joining me live, we have FPV Angel and One Conscience. All right, guys, can you go ahead and FPV Angel and One Conscience. I got to shut down my watch page sound. Yep. All right, can you FPV? It looks like you're muted.
Yeah. Hello, Jake. Hello,
there you
everyone.
go. All right.
Hello.
Can you guys hear One? Can you hear FPV?
Yes.
Yep, I can hear you all loud and clear.
All right. So we got Rose Bellman here in chat, David Banner, Tyler from Wisco, Chris F.E. Jackson, My View 1875, Chillster Deluxe, Craig's 85, Blood Sticker, just to name a few. How is everybody doing? Hope everybody out there in YouTube land is having a wonderful weekend. Good Saturday. We have a flat earth discussion today, and I'm looking forward to diving into this information. We're basically going to pick up where Shay left off and look at a similar model by FPV Angel and One Conscience. And I'm going to go ahead and give them the floor and let them go ahead and get started.
Yep, thank you, Jake. I'll just say hello to everyone in the chat, all the APMers, the Rainbow Warriors, the Halo Warriors, and all those lovely people out there. The others can piss off. Right, what we're going to do, people, what we're going to do is carry on from where Jake and Shay left off at the international date lines and show you what we discovered a few years ago ourselves and the continuation of our research into this Mercator map and its known boundaries. Because that's what we're doing here, people. We're probing the perimeters. So I'll just screen share where we were a few years ago. You see that? Anyone? No, it's not showing, is it? No, hold on a sec. Yeah, hold on. That's strange. It's not showing in the window for some reason.
You have to click on it on your desktop sometimes and then go to the window. So if you like click away from stuff, sometimes it won't show it up on there.
All right, let's try that.
Oh, there it is.
There we go. Right, so I'll leave this what's playing. What you're looking at here, people, is some of the research we were doing in December 2017.
And can you blow it up widescreen so that we get it to take up as much possible?
You see that, yeah?
Thanks.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Right, so when we're looking, right, this is the parts we're looking at here, our international dateline work. Where are you hiding? There it is. Right, so I'll show you from here. You know, this is where we were doing the same as what you were, Jake.
Wow.
You see that, yeah?
Wow.
International dateline here and here. Now, what we call this is our perimeters. This is the edge of the globe. This is where they cut this map and wrapped it around a CGI ball to create Google Earth. So this is where the cuts are. This dateline here in the west and this one in the east. So this is the Mercator map we're using here, the real world map, as we would call it. And what I'm doing here is looking at some of these flights and the routes they're taking. And that's when I discovered some of these weren't actually crossing the date lines. They're using routes way up here in the north. And what you'll notice as well is where these black dotted lines are. This is what I would call data manipulation. This shouldn't be happening. There's
no reason to go way up there past Greenland off the map like that. That's crazy.
You can see it teleporting from there to right across here. See that right then? And you know, this was 5 years ago, guys. You know, this is what we were finding out 5 years ago. And I thought, wow, there's routes obviously up here that are being used to fake across the globe, because you can't, you know, in our model map, you cannot go west to arrive in the east and vice versa on a stationary level plane. It's impossible. So what that land west of Alaska is cannot be Russia, is what we're saying. That's land unknown to you or I, outside of the known world map that they're trying to claim is Russia. Now, the flights that we've been looking at here, you can see, you know, the data has been manipulated here. And I started noticing more and more of this data manipulation. You know, you can look for it. We look for a long time. Sometimes you won't find any. And then you'll find like certain routes and like what you found, Jake, you know, weird paths and flights taking place.
That's so crazy. I mean, I know that they do this to cover up the globe. They say, well, the globe is curved, and so you can't just take any straight lines. They're always going to be curved. But that's such an exaggerated path up north that there's no reason in hell you need to go that high up there, up north.
So you can't really take this data serious, can you? That's what it's telling you. You know, it's clearly manipulated.
No, you can't.
I'll prove that even further in a minute. But this one here, you know, this matches that flight you just done. Where they have to say they have to go up by Alaska. Now, this is the aircraft's route here, coming from somewhere in the States, and it was, you know, this is the alleged flight path. But if you look at the aircraft, I was noticing then, wait a minute, the aircraft's facing the wrong way. It's flying backwards to this destination. So, you know, I was noticing data manipulation, and some of them were that sloppy. They weren't turning the avatar the right way around. So they're flying sideways and backwards and all kinds, like what you see in your video. So it's 100% data manipulation. And more proof of this, I would say, is a couple of years ago on the UAP channel, he got an email from a guy that was a pilot who became a controller. And after some time, he figured out they were having to flip the data, but he didn't actually say where. So this was an email he sent to a Flat Earth channel, but this channel follows the pizza map. So it probably didn't make any sense. You know, there's no reason to flip data on the pizza map. It wouldn't make sense to him. But on our map, this is exactly where that data has to be flipped, because they're trying to give you the illusion you can cross here to get to the other side. And you can't. There's only certain routes you can take. So I was looking at their routes, and that's what I'm saying, Jake. You can only cross the map by air using routes in the north to go east to get west, or west to get east, across the centre, and the same in the south. Now, in the south, the Globers did release a video that they GPS themselves flying from Perth, Australia to a location in South America. Now, the route they took, they put their GPS data online for everyone to see, and they plotted it on the Mercator map. Well, it was a straight line flight west, which did debunk the pizza maps. But I reminded them, you've just actually proven our map, because why didn't you fly east to get to South America? We know you can't. And these, you know, the Globers have had, what, 5 years to debunk our map and model. Crickets. That's all you hear, Jake, crickets. They won't address it. It's like we don't exist.
I noticed you guys don't get talked about in the AE map circle. See, they vilify me and try to make me out as the guy that is divisive and tried to hurt their community. I like to call it the cult community. But they don't bring you guys up, really. I mean, besides the time you told me that Jaron asked you to come on Baby Truther show and that you guys declined, which is a good move.
That's not my kind of thing, you know. We've got nothing to prove to anyone. You want to see what we're about, you know. You want to see what we're about, go and watch our videos. If you want to debunk them, fine, debunk them and let us know how you get on, because you're going to find you can't. That's why, you know, people avoid us. We know this community is infiltrated heavily. We've met them, you know, not personally. I mean, we've met them, how they behave in the background. I've met many of them personally. Yes, you have. And we've seen how they operate in the background, Jake. Not just with us, with other people as well. You know, these not very nice people. But, you know, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about research. So let's move on to better things. So anyway, data manipulation at the date lines, people. So what we're saying now, if people are claiming you can cross the international date lines, we're going to demand data and proof that you actually are. We want to see the route you took to get from A to B. This is not a request from the Globers. This is a request to everyone that's interested, because it's not a copyright to the Globers to give you the answers. You're the researcher. You can find the answers yourself. Help us. We're not here to milk the community to drive money. We don't need to go fund these to send me on a flight to do this. According to them, people cross these daily. That means there's a lot of people flying and they have no idea where they're flying. You know, they're not going where they think they're going. So it should be easy for people to take on board an aircraft, a GPS unit, and a compass, and every 30 minutes start taking readings and you know, start showing the data. This applies to everyone. Everyone can join in with the aircraft routes. It'll expose them all. So that's what we're requesting from people that can make these claims. You know, if you're saying you can fly from Japan to the States going east, prove it. Show me the data. So, you know, we don't really need to go much further into the aircraft on that because, you know, we've worked out there's northern routes, there's southern routes, and obviously across the center of the map. So we no longer worry about the map. You know, we haven't touched the map unless someone says they debunked something, which they haven't. So as far as we're concerned, the map is done and dusted, and we haven't had to touch it for a long time. It's still unchallenged, all this information we've been putting out. And they've had plenty of time to challenge it, Jake, but it's never been forthcoming. So anyway, you know, on from the aircraft data, I'm going to hand you over to One Conscience because she was covering the shipping. So I'll let you take over here, One, if you want to cover the shipping.
Sure. So it would be very easy, obviously, to hide where you're at in the air. It would be equally easy to, you know, hide what ships are doing. Let me share. Hopefully this works good. Okay.
Somebody said that you're cutting out, FPV. Oh, yeah, I'll pull it up.
Okay. Is this showing? Okay. So this is how they want you to think ships run, okay? Going across the international date line. But that's really not the case. There are plenty of ways to make this happen without crossing the international date line. So here's a little bit more accurate, and this is just a screenshot from live cruise ship trackers. So you'll notice there's very few out here. And if those islands are so popular and going across to Japan is such a big thing, then why aren't there more piling over there? And you'll also notice that a whole bunch are bunched up right here, right around the Panama Canal. So the Panama Canal would be your central route through with your ships. Everything else could go north or south, of course. And so I went and tracked one specific couple of cruises a while back just to see for myself, like, what are these things doing if they're not going through. Hold on, I'm having a problem sharing it. Window. Okay, there it is. Sorry. This is new for me.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, so here we did a cruise. I took a cruise coming from Baja, California that was supposed to go, you know, across the date line supposedly. However, when you actually go through and track every little spot it stops, all those little yellow dots are where the ship stopped. It comes right up next to the international date line and then wraps back around to go to Baja, California. So then I looked at a shipping cruise coming from New Zealand that was supposed to, you know, go out to the Polynesian islands. And it comes around New Zealand, wraps up around the shore of Australia, out to the ocean a bit, still stays on this side, even for all its stops at these little islands, and then comes back down to New Zealand. Neither one of these crossed this international date line at all through its itinerary. And then what made it even more suspicious is that these cruises start at around $20,000 a person, and they can run up to like $56,000 a person. And you guys can go look up different, you know, cruises and see that this is accurate. And they take around 30 days. So all of that was huge red flags for me, wondering why and realizing that, you know, they're not crossing that date line at all.
It's probably a good time to mention that fake Mercator one, yeah?
The fake Mercator?
Yeah, and why they use it.
Well, the
first image you showed there, you know, it shows you the fake one, didn't it? Then people need to know how it's faked. So yeah, you know, should we go down that route?
Yeah, I'll put that back up. So the fake Mercator 1 keeps the Ring of Fire intact. And we looked at this map. We actually did. We looked very deep into it, but then found the international date lines a few years ago were being manipulated. It started out with the Diomedes. But
so what you're looking at there is the fake Mercator map, where you see Australia in the west. On this map, you can see what they've done here. They've made this projection of the Mercator to where Russia meets Alaska to give the impression it exists, this configuration exists, and it doesn't. But you know, I just found that out. This is the one we would call the fake one, and you should never use it or trust it. But I'll hand that back to Anne because she's going to take you deeper into that.
yeah, so by keeping Russia and Alaska together, and especially at the Diomedes, you know, you have this globe projection. It also makes the AE map work, which both of which I you know, I'm not either one of a follower of those, and they've been debunked properly. When you look at the Diomedes and you go into different sunrise times, then you'll notice that it's really messed up, because not only are the sunrise supposedly 3 to 4 hours apart between Big Diomede and Little Diomede, if you look deeper, you'll also notice that the sun is doing some kind of a bouncing back and forth between Russia and America for its rise times, which is not the way the sun works. And the Diomedes being 3 miles apart would have the same sunrise. It should never be 3 to 4 miles apart. And, you know, I'm not saying there's not two islands out there, not at all, because there are pictures and footage of those things, but they are manipulating the data, just like with the shipping, just like with the flights, to keep people confused and in the dark about what our world is and what it looks like.
So we were talking earlier that this is basically like our rectangle barnyard. So what's beyond the barnyard could be really anyone's guess. And so that's the way I was looking at it, was like travel is restricted heavily in a lot of different ways, you know, even down to your car being extremely expensive to drive. You know, you have to get permission to cross these borders, even if you're just going, you know, from America to Mexico or America to Canada. I got to get permission. So when you look at all the different travel restrictions, and then you look at the flight manipulation and data like this, it kind of lends itself towards this being our rectangular barnyard, basically.
Yeah, it really does. You know, you can see now where you've been boxed in and where we're starting to find, you know, the perimeters of this one world map. We're probing the perimeters, and these people don't like it. You know, they're coming up with these website proofs and my friend said so proofs, and no, that's not proofs. It shows the data. It should be easy, but you can't do it.
Okay, here's a question that I'll let you guys go ahead and answer. Can you see that on screen?
Yep.
Yep.
You can see a landmass from Alaska. It's up to you to prove it's Russia. We know it's impossible. How can Russia be in two places at once, people? Think about it.
Right, and not to say that there might not be Russian soldiers over there, but then again, even for America, we own a bunch of little islands scattered here and there throughout the oceans. British is, you know, superior over Australia. I mean, I don't know if it still is, but it used to be. So what difference does it make what soldiers are there, or, you know, who's residing there? Because we're scattered all over the world by what we own, and that all came from wars, you know.
Yeah. That's just who owns the land. It doesn't mean it's Russia, does it? It's just who owns the land.
Yeah, the Eskimos on Little Diomede claimed that there is Russian soldiers over there on Big Diomede. And if you try and go over there, that they'll sick their dogs on you and arrest you and detain you, and maybe even fire some shots at you, some warning shots. And that's the stories that I've heard. But again, it could be any soldiers that so if they really are guarding the perimeters of our world, it could be any soldiers basically, and they might just think they're Russians. I don't know. Or they might actually put Russians there just to really make it as believable as possible. So I have to take all that into consideration, and I find the whole thing highly fascinating that there could be a landmass west of Alaska, undiscovered by us, and we have no idea how big it really could be, or what's to the east of Russia, for that matter, or to the north or to the south. So what you have done is blow my mind wide open.
There's a name for that land. What is it, FPV?
I forget the name of it now. It wasn't us that discovered the name. It was someone else, wasn't it?
It was something incognito or
Yeah,
something.
it does show up on old maps. That's what I remember
Yeah.
saying. It shows up on old maps. This is how we found it. Yeah, that was, someone else discovered the name. That wasn't us. They attached themselves to us and looked further and found the name for this location.
So that's something people can look into as well,
Yeah, look at the old map, guys. I mean, I've got one on my live stream now I use as a thumbnail. It's a 1500s Mercator, and look at the detail on it. You want to see detailed maps, look at that one. 1500s Mercator, and you can see exactly the same's happened with that map. They've chopped the sides off. They're hiding the edge, what's east and west. The globe, circling sun maps, Pac-Man maps. This is where you'll find, no disrespect to any researchers out there that's worked with the Mercator map and put models out there. You'll find they all stop at the international date lines, and then they have to start. It becomes Pac-Man or 4D or other variations because they're not sure what to do with at these barriers. But we don't restrict ourselves to barriers in our research. We know there's a beyond. We can see it. This landmass in the west shows us that is not Russia. All this data flipping, it's showing us that I'm to manipulate data to hide what this world is and how big it is. So, this is where we are, looking at data beyond there. We have seen magnetic data that goes beyond, the north and south that we get to see from their series. He's the one that originally gives us the map. Now, the map we use was actually ripped out of Google Earth. And what series found was it's run with algorithms. The map we use is being compressed and wrapped around this ball by algorithms. So as you zoom out in Google Earth, the algorithms kick in and start compressing and rounding the images, and that's what makes Google Earth. But at ground level, it's the exact same map we use ourselves. It's the street level, it's using the real world map, and that's the one we're using. So there's some more information on how Google Earth works. It's just algorithms that round everything off from the map we're actually using. And if you look at the map series put out, you can see a lot more in the north and the south on it. They've just clipped east and west off. So, that information's in some of our older videos. I do recommend going through our older videos. You'll find short videos, long ones, but they've all got interesting information that's all linked into how all this works and how they've done it. Because World War II was all about securing these perimeters. The North and South treaties and the East and West date lines taking control of shipping and air. That's what World War II was really, that was the goal of World War II. And we knew they were planting maps in 1939 at Antarctica. Well, 2 years before that, what took place? Amelia Earhart's flight, where she flew.
Oh, I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah, she flew east, didn't she? Now, as she got near the east date lines, that's when she went missing. And within 2 years, World War II started. So you can see, I think that flight probably triggered World War II because, man's now got access to aircraft and women. I speak for both sexes here. So, we've got access to aircraft and they've got to stop you just flying in any direction you want if they want to hide what this construct is and its dimensions. So, as far as we're concerned, they probably took her out and that's why World War II started. And it's never stopped, people. It hasn't ended yet. It's still continuing. Pearl Harbor, Vietnam, Korea, they're securing the perimeters. Australia, New Zealand, look out. But that's enough of politics. Let's not go there.
All right.
So then we, of course, can talk about our own map now. So FPV.
Yeah, which are you screen sharing? Yeah, right. Okay, people, what you're looking at here is a map and a grid. Now we're going to enter. Now you know the map we work with and how it works. This grid is a grid I decoded from the Nazca lines and recognized it as what I would call blueprints to a construct. This is where sacred geometry comes into all of this. So let's say, this is my research of years, 5-6 years ago. I was looking into sacred geometry, and when I found flat Earth, I thought, well, how does that connect in with this? I was trying to decode sacred geometry. So the Nazca lines, I started mapping those, and I'd recommend anyone does it. You got access to Google Earth, you can go to the Nazca lines and add the lines yourself and start mapping them and see what you get. This became a labor of love for us as a group because it was showing us things that defied explanation. We're looking at technology. It was showing us technology in the Nazca lines. The mainstream will show you some lines, but what our line traced and what we decoded it as and started overlaying it on this world map, it showed us we need to use the grid to find the real world map. So it became a case of the grid got priority and it has to work with this world map to make any sense. So over time, we were, repositioning this grid over the map. Now the grid's called the Sun Star of Peru. Interesting name. If you look at some of these names in the Nazca lines, like the solar clock. There's an antenna there that's called the solar clock. You look at it, it says an antenna. And this is what I was noticing in the Nazca lines, lots of antennas and, communications and technology I would recognize as particle accelerators. That kind of, I was starting to see things like this in these Nazca lines, and not just Nazca lines, glyphs, geopetrohieroglyphs everywhere. It was starting to make sense what our ancestors were actually telling us. They were telling us the story of how this works. So this grid here, can you see my mouse? You see my mouse on screen, anyone?
I don't.
Oh, that's strange. I can see it. Anyway, how do we get my mouse on this screen, Jake?
I can zoom into an area if you'd like.
I can see. Oh yeah, it's your mouse that needs to be on screen while you're sharing. Right.
Oh, you can see my mouse?
Yeah. Right. Right. I was forgetting it was my mouse on screen. Anyway, right. Let's go to that one in Russia there, that dot on the grid, the Kola borehole. Now, the Kola borehole, people, that on the grid, this is where it actually aligns. So what they're drilling down to at 8 Mile deep and telling you that the drills can't get any further is a lie. They're drilling down to something below this area. Now, One Conscience's earthquake data matches the depth that they're drilling to in quite a lot of parts of the world. So to us, they're drilling down to something down in the underworld in these areas. So that's the Kola borehole. If you move down into Europe, just below there, you'll see it's the Intercontinental German Deep Drilling Program. That's where that one will be located. I can't see really. I think that one's Astrakhan or somewhere on there, that one. This is what we've done a grid tour as we were going around some of these dots on this grid to see where they were in the world and what was in that location that made any sense. Now that one there, that one's drawn a circle on now. That one goes through the Red Sea into Saudi Arabia and terminates into Riyadh. It actually goes through Mecca. So if you want to part the Red Sea, you're looking at technology that probably can do it quite easily. Because what you're looking at here, connects to ley lines and other work that one's going to go into in detail later. Further down the grid, the ones at the bottom, we haven't, done a lot of these because a lot of them in the sea, and we're finding a lot of them are like, volcanic islands, which would make sense if there's large coils and things below there, wouldn't it? So that's what we're looking at with the grid alignment. So we use those kind of markers for grid alignment, and it started making a lot of sense, like in the Gulf of Mexico, where you get lots of tornadoes and things taking place. You've got a big one right there, right in the Gulf of Mexico.
Hurricanes always follow exactly into that path, and they wipe out and devastate, down here.
And that looks like one up near New York as well, doesn't it?
Yep.
From that region. Yeah. So we start seeing interesting locations on this grid.
Actually, this would be up by Canada, and I'm thinking it's probably pretty close to that place, maybe Oak Island area. I think me and Jimbo figured that one out, which is kind of a big TV show about this treasure, and stuff.
So, this is what we're doing here. And of course, the shape of the grid one, should we get into the scriptural stuff with that?
Yes, one more thing before you do that. So this line right here also, Jimbo, he was, he's part of our group. He's just inactive at the moment, but he actually found on Google Earth an actual straight line, something sticking out of their snow that was exactly perfect where this is on the grid, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was, I think he said it was about 45 mile in length. He thought it was a snowplow blade until he measured it, and it was showing us 45 miles in length sticking out of the ice, and it was bright orange. Bright orange steel looking plate coming out of the snow and then vanishing into the snow again. So to us it could be a part of this show, and that's perhaps why they always have Greenland whited out on the map.
Okay, can I ask a question? So each one of these dots that you have that you're pointing at is like a significant location, basically?
Yes. It's, definitely location markers in the world. There's going to be structures and things on the surface on land marking where all this is. And that's what we've been seeing with, like cathedrals, castles, all these kind of things. There's more than what you see here. This lot here, there's a special number set comes with this lot. If you count all them dots up, you actually get 72.
And your center point is out in the water. Just real quick with the center point, it's out in the water basically.
Yeah, and that's where the. Yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say it's a place called Ascension Island.
Yeah, it's very near to Ascension Island, which is aptly named, isn't it, when you think about this? But yeah, that's the direct center, north. Perfect. You want a compass, that's where you would be, the center of this map and grid. And the US military also placed the same location as their center, believe it or not. I wish you could get, there was a guy who came on the Sun and Moon channel years ago, and he said exactly, he said the data he sees, it shows this location has been the center of the world, as he worded it. But to us, it's the center of this grid, which shows you now the locations in the north, south, east, and west become very interesting on this grid, don't they? Because what are these shapes? These symmetrical shapes in the north, south, east, and west. And can we reference them anywhere important? Yes, we can. Do you want to go into the Enoch stuff one?
The Enoch stuff. Yeah, so with Enoch, he speaks of the gates in the northeast, south, and west. He says 3 are north before heaven. So look at the 1, 2, 3. He says there's 3 gates in the east, right? He says there's 3 in the south, and there's 3 in the west. So this actually lines up perfect with Enoch. These being 3 gates, also broke down into little sectors, but 3 main gates.
Yeah. So we've got gates, portals. Portal translates as a gate. It means the same thing. So gates and portals actually come into this. So, what it's showing you here is what Enoch's talking about when you think about it. This is where he's showing you where the luminaries are coming from and obviously going to.
Do you have that graphic to show with the sun going across?
Yeah, the seasons video. Yeah, I'll put that on now.
Yeah, because that'd be really helpful, because that's a good visual for if you're going to talk about like a sun's path across this map.
Yep, you got it. That's where it was leading.
Hello, and welcome to AP.
Right. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
You can see my mouse?
I cannot.
It should be up near the top there.
I don't see it.
Ah, you can see it. That's okay. As long as someone can see it.
No, I don't. I don't see it.
Oh, you don't see it?
No.
I wonder if I did click that one then. Maybe do I have to have it full screen maybe to see it? Does that work?
No, I'm just not seeing any mouse moving around.
Me neither.
Okay, right. We'll try without a mouse then. Okay, what we're looking at here, guys, is now how we started working out what the sun's actually doing. Now we know there's a boundary that the sun's coming from beyond and going beyond that we don't get to cross, but obviously these luminaries do. So this helped us create this video we called the APM Seasons, and the data we took from New Zealand's sunrise times and angles. So we could, plot on the map the sun's, because, every month, obviously, it's going to change gate as it moves up and down the gates, if that's how it works. So we're looking for changes, monthly changes in the sun's, what do you call it? The sun's angles, the sunrise angles. We're looking for it moving up and down the map, which is, hold on a second, I've got a phone call, but I'll have to cancel that. Go away.
Is that the moon bouncing up and down right there?
No, where was I?
The little white thing that goes across after the sun.
Right, that's something important I'm going to show you, because what you're going to find out now is what we can see, what the luminaries are actually doing.
Oh, okay.
So what this would represent here is the sun rise and going across the map. It'd do that for like a month, and it'd move to another gate. So each one of these crossings represents 30 days, say, and then it'll change to a different gate. So what I'm trying to work out is the sequence of these gates. If these are the gates, I'm trying to work out the sequence that would match what we see in reality as the sun moves up and down. It moves up and down the tropics. And what it does perfectly is it shows us, the sun, all the angles are correct. Everything works. They're coming from this direction somewhere and going to that direction somewhere. Now, so what you're seeing here in the return, I looked into satellite paths that they use, and you notice the ISS path, the Molniya orbit of one of the Russian satellites. Them two interested me a great deal because they perfectly match what we've seen in the sky going across the map. So the sun to us is being, what it decodes as is what you're looking at, the configuration. And this was Jimbo's wording when I showed Jimbo the configuration of what the sun was doing across the Nazca lines. And he described it, he's a black box engineer, so he knows what he's talking about with electronics. Now he described the pattern, what it was doing, as a sweep back transformer and fly back killer. And what that means is it sweeps the sun west, then it shuts it down, it suppresses its light and returns it as fast as it can back to the east, pretty much how cathode ray tube works. And then you're adding into the mix, we're looking at effects that we can see taking place over the map that would come from what you would call like an oscilloscope, sine waves crossing the map. And the paths that the sun is to bringing back, this one here, it's a sinusoidal orbit. This is what they call in the ISS. The ISS is this light. This is the sun, switched off, suppressed, returning east, is what we're telling you. It's a very large technological process. The sun is controlled by technology. People must ask, we've looked at the ISS debunkings for years. People aren't asking the right questions. What are those lights in the sky these people are desperately trying to take the credit for, people? Think about it.
So here's one that I know that you have a different take than anyone that I've ever talked to. When people see the sun halos or sun dogs, they think that it's proof of a dome, or that it's the chemtrails in the air is causing it to just look like that. Whereas you have an entirely different take. And why don't you go ahead and just explain that real quick to people?
I'll show you a video of that if you want. Are you quite happy with the explanation of what's going on with the seasons here? And we can move on from this if you want. What you'll see on the screen here anyway is that the box on the bottom right is the data I took from New Zealand. Sandra collated the data and I put it into this. I made this little box here to show you the data and the angles and everything. Then you've got constellations, the gemstones, the FFI stuff that might be relevant to other people. A lot of it doesn't make sense to me as yet. Yes, the ether does, and certain things are those gemstones. These are on. You find the unique to certain places, and there's probably a good reason for that. That does fit in with our research. Constellations, all those birth signs. So the birth signs are actually related to these gate changes. Your birth sign comes with your gate. Is where it's really coming from. It's actually attached to these gates.
And you believe the sun is being projected by like a technology of some sort?
Yes, it travels below ground, and it's electromagnetic in nature. And we'll get deeper into the science behind how it works, because we'll have to take you there anyway to explain it. But we'll leave that till later if you want, or even a future one, depending on how far we get today. But we can explain how that technology works. And don't worry, we've actually got real scientists now in the real world actually looking at what we're saying and coming to their own conclusions. You know, I'll quote one of the words for you. They're now realizing this technology has been here a long time, since man's been fighting with swords and shields. So they know there's technology involved in what's taking place. They're just not seeing the full picture of it yet. But they'll get there, you know, you will get there. Doesn't matter what angle you come from, you start getting these realizations. This world is not what we've been told. And it doesn't work how we've been told. So, you know, what it's showing us, Jake, there is a creator. Someone created this. This is how it works, which is, we can't debunk it ourselves. We try, you know, we try to debunk everything we put out. These are our best theories and works and cross-references we can find everywhere to bring it all together into one big picture. And our ancestors are very good teachers. What people aren't realizing, in a lot of these characters in scriptures are actually technologies that have been personified. If you were told those characters in books were personifications of technology, read them again and realize, you know, what I'm saying now is people aren't reading the books properly. There's a lot of, you know, topics we're going to get into. This is the analema, you know, if this is how the gate sequence work and this is the data we're getting, what you're seeing on screen, this is kind of a weird analema it makes on the 25th of each month. Now, the only thing that, you know, people are going to say, well, that doesn't make sense. It makes a figure 8. Well, you're not taking into account. I'll show you what you're not taking into account. It's the, if it's launching from this gate, that's a rear gate. It's got longer to travel across the map. This one would be shorter to cross the map. So you've got rear gates and front gates. So I'll do a quick run through them. Spring, north of the equator. So that's March. And it'll jump up April. Hold on, I'll pause it on this one. This one will be easier. Right. Spring, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Crosses back over the equator to the rear gate for October, which is your equinox. November, December, January, February. Jumps back across, this one there. That's February. Then jumps back across to March. So it's doing this pattern all year round. It just repeats this pattern all year round. And what, you know, what makes it, gives it this weird shape like this and not the number 8 that you're used to seeing is the times change. You can actually watch this taking place. This is where your daylight hours change because it's got further to go. You're going to get longer hours. When it jumps to a front gate, we start getting shorter daylight hours, and then it moves down the map, crosses over. So, you know, your crossovers. So, and this one here, Jake, this is the...
Are you trying to point at something with your mouse or something? Like, because...
Yeah.
It's just one screen, so we're not sure exactly where you're pointing when you see it.
Right, yeah, you can't see what I'm pointing. Here. Anyway, the top, if you see the top left dot, where the arrow is, there's a top left dot, right?
Yeah.
Right, that's a front gate, and the one at the back is a rear gate. Now, if it's coming from a rear gate and going across the map, it's going to take longer to get there because that's further apart. From a front gate, it would take shorter to get there because, you know, this is now reducing the hours. The daylight hours will start reducing. We get less time. And if you look at the configuration as it moves down and crosses back over the equator to the rear gates, you can see how the time's being reduced because, and it's getting longer time for the south. So as they, you know, this is how we get our northern winter. They get their southern summer. Well, it's autumn, spring. You know, they get their spring, summer, autumn, winter. Complete reverse to what we're doing, and it just repeats that cycle on over and over. So that kind of, you know, that kind of helped us work out, you know, if this is where it's taken place and this is what these dots represent. I think we've represented them quite accurate using real world data and showing how the sun's moving across the map from these locations. And the top left one, this is the one that does the 24-hour sun when it's coming from that one. So I'll show you what we've done with the 24-hour sun. It was June. There it is, the Arctic 24-hour sun. So what this one's doing, we've put this, what we've done here, We don't know how far north it goes, and is it doing a curve or a straight line across the map? We don't know. No one's got data from up there. And even we know a guy in Murmansk in Russia. It even looks low down on the horizon to him. So we can't get data to say, you know, it's doing an arc in the north. We don't know how high it is and how far up the map it is. So we'll put it there as a placeholder until we get better data. So, you know, it does account for this motion that it's doing, and it'll come back into the map somewhere in the east and carry on its day cycle. And we do think it takes place like that in the south. Why wouldn't it? Everything's very symmetrical on this. So we do think there is a southern 24 hours. We just can't see it because Antarctica's very elevated landmass. So you might not see the glow in the distance. So, you know, we do think it does it. We can't prove that, but I know they fake that it does it. I'm not sure why they're having to fake it, because we can see, you know, it should do it. It would be strange. It's not, because that's your winter solstice and your summer solstice in the north and south. The ancients all marked these. They knew when it was happening because they've got the 24-hour sun to go by. They know what it's doing, looking at the cycle of the sun. Smart people are the ancients. So, you know, this is where this grid comes into this. Now, the 6 large halos you see on this grid, I added them from the Nazca lines also, and they started coming into play in 2017. You remember the receding ocean events in 2017?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
There's a lot of oceans around the world. The oceans receded out, and of course they got the tsunami warnings, but they never come back in. It just rolled in slowly over the course of a week or so, which is unheard of in all these locations. Everywhere those halos intersected land, that event took place. So, you know, to us, that's electromagnetic activations of some kind, and it's interfering with tides, because we do think this technology governs the tides. When we have done a water video. Do you want to go into the water video one? Or do you think we should go down a different route from here?
Well, he just wanted to talk about halos.
Oh, before we do that, the constellation video, that's a really good one that's still on the same page as what you just showed us. So the one with the constellation over the top of the map, that one was a pretty good visual for the audience.
Yeah.
And then we can get into the halo stuff.
Yeah, right. Let's find that one again.
Because people will ask about, of course, how does your map account for the star trails and having separate star trails? Because pizza pie mappers say that, of course, all the stars just go around that center point, and that they don't go in reverse the other way. That's just a straw man attack, or it's just perspective, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to share it now.
Here it is.
I'll full screen it if I can. I'll leave the music off. Yeah, so what you're looking at here, people, is the constellations and how they work on this map and grid. As you can see, they pretty much work as one unit. You know, we consider them one unit. They're all moving in unison as one unit. And you can reference the likes of Atlas the Titan. And he's got this thing on his back. A lot of people put a globe on his back. It's not a globe. It's this mechanism that actually represents. So, you know, on Atlas's back, he's showing you the mechanisms of the sky and how it works. And, you know, to us, it's these halos that create these. We're looking at the effects of electromagnetism on a very large scale.
And this is a flat map that actually has the opposite star rotation and like going across the equator perfectly in a straight line. Like you got all that stuff lined up as well. So,
and what you're going to see, you know, they aren't two separate rotations. They're like one wheel working in unison. It's all one unit rotating east to west. It's exactly what it's doing. It's all moving as one.
So how he explained it to me, just to interrupt, and I apologize, is if you hold your arms out one to each side and you spin them in the same direction, right? And if you look one way, they're going one way. If you look the other way, though, it actually appears like it's going the opposite as the other way. One's going clockwise, and one seems to be going counterclockwise based on which way you're looking.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
They confuse people by making them turn around. Don't turn around. Just face west, and you'll see that they both revolve in the same direction, east to west, as one unit. Stop looking north and south. They're just confusing you with that.
But if you were to look north and south, they would appear to be going in the opposite. So what I'm saying is the pizza pie model, that's a debunk, because if you were looking south in South America, Cape Horn, Africa, and Australia, if you were looking south, they would all be looking in different directions, right? They wouldn't all be looking in the same direction, and they would all be seeing that's the point that you have down there at the bottom of the map. That's what they would all be claiming to look at. So that's considered a debunk of the AE map, right?
Yeah, so, these southern stars debunk all circular maps because they're all revolving around a fixed point in the south. You can't see the point, but they're revolving around it. So that fixed point on any pizza map would also have to revolve around the map for all those nations to see it, and it doesn't do that. It's fixed. So anyone, if recording the southern stars, they're not moving around the map. They stay where they are, and they just, they revolve around that point. And that revolution just gets wider and wider as it goes over the top here and comes down again in the north. It's the same mechanism, rotating east to west. Like a hamster ball, it's like being inside a hamster ball and we're in the middle, and it's revolving east over the top of our heads. That's exactly the motion it's doing. So, that covers the constellations. They work perfectly across this map.
That's a really good graphic.
It is lovely.
Kent Cross has it right. Great explanation. So it's like a cylinder of stars instead of a dome. Yes, like that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, I like American football shape, revolving east to west, or rugby ball. That kind of shape, revolving east to west, would pretty much describe it.
Yeah.
And now we should get to the halos, I guess.
Yeah, but first, just so you know, so a long time ago, people used to have science and religion. They were just one thing. And at some point, it separated to, whether it was to divide the truth or divide the people or whatever the reason was, I don't know. So I'm not going to try to speculate. But then religion became this, organized religion thing, and science became science. And then they opposed each other ever since. And then they've just went in opposite directions. But a lot of what we try to do is put that back together into one thing. When you read religious scriptures, then you find that, if you look at it in a technological sense, that it's describing our world, our realm, and how it works. For people that want to go deeper, they should look into Ezekiel, Isaiah, Daniel, the apocalypse of Abraham, Enoch, and also like Egyptian pyramid texts. So you can look at different parts of the world to see that these things they should still be one. Even Walter Russell says that science and religion will have to become one before people can truly understand the world.
That's correct. And you'll find a lot of the great minds of science actually use holy books as a guide. So what are they seeing in their people that you're not seeing? They're seeing the technology, because our quest from the beginning was to find the technology hidden in glyphs, myths, legends, holy books, temples, everything. And you look and you will find it. They've always known this technology exists, is what it's showing us. As far back as we look, we only need to see a spiral and we know what they're talking about. They're all talking the same language, by the way. Doesn't matter what nation it comes from. We recognize and decode their sacred geometry quite easily, because it's all the same story, just different names for the same thing. So, this is how we can cross-reference a lot of things into our research and avenues we explore. It just keeps expanding, doesn't it, One? It gives us more answers than we expected to find.
Yes. So this can bring you into halos. Because that's, why are they called halos?
Yeah. Why are they called halos, people? Hey, where did that go? It vanished. Hold on.
You must have got rid of it. Trend, share it again. While you were talking, I forgot to pull it up on screen, and then I pulled it up, and then it went away.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Can you see that?
Yeah. Can you do full screen on that end too? There you go.
Certainly can.
And we can see your mouse now too. See?
Oh, excellent. Right, people. This is from one of our subscribers, Maria Hagberg. This is part of the sun halo that she recorded, and it was, forwarded to us. Now, what you're looking at here is, in our opinion, is the electromagnetics of this technology revealing itself. And the configuration matches the configuration of what man's calling a particle accelerator. You're going to find it's like a beetle shape. So you've got a large halo and a small halo, which, and ISIS, it's the same thing. This is decoded. This is what the Egyptians were trying to tell you, the same thing. They're trying to describe this technology and portray it and glorify it. They weren't worshipping it, they were glorifying it. Everyone was glorifying it. That's what all these temples represent. We've always known what it is.
They hide this from us. They sprayed maybe to hide this.
Oh yes, oh yes. What they're doing with the spray, Jake, is they're trying to dry the atmosphere up, because what we're finding is ice crystals and water droplets help reveal this technology. This is revelations, by the way. This is the construct revealing itself. This is also what you would call the end times. When we see things like this taking place, this is what scriptures and prophecies are trying to warn you about. This is an end times event going to start taking place.
Also, if you see the top part of the sun halo, you see that same thing in Egyptian pyramid texts and in Egyptian glyphs with them with their little horns on their head.
Yeah,
that's what they were trying to show us.
Yeah, the cones. It's the cones from the halos. We're going to get into cones with Walter Russell's work, so you can understand what cones, what they cause in our world. But yeah, these are videos that people send in, and we come across and collate them and just put them out there. People's, recording these all around the world, so everyone should see it sooner or later. And the chems are designed to dry the atmosphere up. So they're actually interfering with the precipitation process by doing it. They're interfering with this technology doing its role. They're trying to hide it. The chems are there to try and hide it. People are saying, no, the chems create it, but we can prove this has appeared before in our reset videos. If you look through our 400-year reset videos, you're going to find these were appearing in the 1600s. And previous times before them. So it's a cycle. We're looking at a cycle, guys.
And there's no way that this is caused from a dome. I'm sorry, that's silly, because if the dome was there and it was some glass thing, holding us in, it would be much, much, much larger than what these halos are. These halos are local. If you see one and it's above your general area, it's not going to be 4 or 5 states away at that moment. So if it was a dome thing, it would be everywhere, all, at the
You cut out then, one.
Did she got kicked out? Or
something? She vanished.
Oops, sorry about that.
You clicking buttons again.
I hit a button and I kicked myself out. Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to put my keyboard away. Hold on.
I've seen these around the moon as well, not just the sun. I haven't seen this detailed of one, but the circle halo I've seen on a few nights even go around the moon as well.
Now, if you look at the configuration of that as well, yeah, hold on one, I'll just pause it for you.
Go back to the back side of it. So we see the front side, we see that like all over Egyptian, glyphs, that exact shape for what's on their heads. But then if you look at this back side, look at that. That is an angel. Like, that's what they say angels look like, that shape behind it. Because this thing runs all the way around, you may not be able to see it at all the time, but
this Well, it moves, this moves across the map as one unit. This whole thing moves across the map as one unit. The sun is just part of something bigger.
All right. So one guy,
this something is what's moving the sun across the map. Basically, you're seeing its electromagnetic self being revealed by ice crystals.
All right. This guy says the halos are caused by chemtrails. What would you say to that?
Well, go and watch our 1600 reset videos, and you're going to find halo paintings in there from previous resets. And there was no chem planes in the 1600s. So no, this is electromagnetic shown in the visible spectrum, and you're going to see more and more. That's why you're seeing the moon one. The moon's the same configuration, but it looks larger. The halo looks larger on the moon's one because it's lower down in the atmosphere. Its image, itself.
It has to be some kind of a cycle where it shows and then it doesn't show, and it may have to do with like the sun in its grand solar minimum and maximum stages, because it does show. They have pictures and drawings and paintings of it way back in the 1600s from the Book of Miracles that Sandra read, that we did some videos about, and then we didn't see this. Like I've never seen this as I grew up as a child. And through my childhood and young adulthood, and now all of a sudden this is appearing again. So it's almost like a cycle of some sort that it's showing, maybe based on the sun cycles.
Yes, it does follow the Maunder minimum. We're actually going into what they would call a mini ice age, looking at the data, and their own scientists are coming out saying this. It's going the opposite way to what they're telling you. They need global warming to try and hide this from revealing itself. That's why they're spraying the crap out of every sky. They follow the sun across the map and the moon. They do.
Now, there's days where they absolutely obliterate the sky where I live. So I live around Sacramento area, and there's days where they absolutely just trail the shit out of the whole sky. And then there's days where, like on a Sunday, for instance, there won't be a single trail and it's crystal clear. And to me, that's evidence that some days they spray and then some days they just don't. Other people would say that deny chemtrails that they're spraying will say that the conditions just weren't able to support everlasting chemtrail or contrails. Whereas they say on the days where the trails expand and turn the whole sky gray, they say that's just ice crystals and water vapor up there. But I've been to Las Vegas in the desert and seen the city blanketed with trails when it's 110 degrees. And I know damn well that's not ice crystals and water vapor hanging out above the city of Las Vegas in the desert.
I agree with you.
No, they're trying to hide this. If they weren't spraying the skies, you would see a lot more of this, I think, taking place. The best place to see it from is cold areas. It's more ice crystals there. You get to see the shape properly. So no, it's not a dome. It's moving across the map basically, and they're following it. They're spraying below it, trying to stop it. Interfere with its workings, let's say, to try and hide it. And not just them, this is also going to affect, I would have thought, local rainbows as well. Your rainbows are all localized events as well. They're part of this. Not part of the sun, but they work in unison with the sun when it's passing by, is what we're finding. Things activate and switch on. The weather changes, winds get stronger. Things start activating and weather patterns change, and the ether gets manipulated, and you look around and it's the moon going past that caused that. So there's interactions going on with the luminaries and your localized events. What we're pinpointing as rainbows. So
that's right. Yeah, lots of research in the rainbows as well.
Yeah, the rainbows is more evidence of this technology. They actually reside and revolve where you see them, and you're going to find the interconnect with larger or smaller ones. That's what we're starting to see as we're mapping them. Because what we're asking people to do with the rainbows, it's capture the rainbow, capture your local rainbows, GPS mark it where you find it on Google Earth, try and do a video of it. If you can time lapse it even better, you'll see it appearing to revolve where it resides. Now, that to us is probably the sun just going around it. So what the sun's really doing, it's revealing something there below the rainbow. And that thing below the rainbow is half of a sphere. We're seeing half of the picture. The other half's below the map. So we only see half of this. But if you're at altitude, you'll find in some of our videos, you actually get to see the full circle rainbow. You need altitude to see the full circle. So you will find these local. So that's what we're asking people to do with the rainbows. Start mapping them. Start finding where their arc is. Their arc is just where they're evolving, basically. That's its torus field, or half of it. It's a full sphere below the rainbow, and you get to see half. And if you look carefully, you'll see the sky is a totally different color in this area. You're looking through an electromagnetic field that it creates, and they're all around us. We live in this environment. And, this is something you can go out and study yourselves, people. We're not here to bullshit you. This is something you can go and study yourself. Your local rainbows really are local. And all your weather events are all localized events related to these. So
to my knowledge, you guys are the only ones who've ever presented that case. So I find that highly fascinating, because I figured I would have heard somebody mention something like that before. But to my knowledge, I've never heard any explanation anywhere near that. So your graphic that you have there too, where you're showing the shape, it's just, I find it highly fascinating. And I think it's great that you took the time to research this in depth, rather than just writing it off as like, oh, well, that just happened because they chemtrailed, or, oh, that just is, a reflection off the dome or something.
Yeah, no, it would be a pretty small, when you look at the rainbows, they're saying the rainbows are from a dome. We've got a rainbow of a video that's less than 100 feet wide, and it's a full circle rainbow captured by a drone. That's a very small dome, is it not? No,
right.
It's not.
Sorry.
Go on, carry on.
Well, just the rainbows are local. So like if I have a rainbow here where I live, it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody 2 hours away is going to see that rainbow. These are local. There's no way that these are caused from a dome. I'm sorry, it's not. They're not high enough, and they're not wide enough for that to even be an option. Just because they can recreate it with their little glass jars on their kitchen table doesn't mean that that's the cause. It just means that they can make it happen. I mean, you can go outside with a water hose like Danielle did in one of our videos, and you can create the rainbow, but really the water is simply showing the electromagnetics that are around.
Yeah, I did a little animation if you look at the Glastonbury tour video, I did an animation in there that shows you what's taking place with the hose pipe. It's actually, what it's revealing is when you're spraying a rainbow and you've got the sun behind you, it's revealing this half sphere that's behind you, and it's been focused down into the water droplets that you're spraying. That's what you're actually seeing. You're seeing something that's behind you being focused down, because electromagnetism penetrates everything. This is how this world really works. It's electromagnetism on a huge scale.
Yeah, and the fact that these rainbows are also repeatable in the same area over and over. And then if you actually can get the GPS coordinates, through triangulation by seeing it from different angles or whatnot, you can actually pinpoint a special location that, your government has taken over. They've built something there to assure that they own that spot. So you have to wonder what's below, and why are we seeing this rainbow over and over in the same spot?
And like this video here, Jerk, this is videos videos people sent us in of their localized rainbows and information. I put the angel there on top of that tower, because that would be
crazy with the lightning that just hit like that.
That was special effects. That was me.
Oh, I was like, is that real? Okay. The angel. How do we know the rainbow's not CGI? All right.
This is a rainbow in Ireland of one of our subscribers, and a rainbow warrior. They're all rainbow warriors as far as we're concerned. This is what the rainbow warriors are: the people who figured it out and start telling the world what's really going on. It's your destiny. This is actually a prophecy, and a prophecy to me is just history repeating itself. This has happened in the past, and we're just figuring out where we are and how it works. We're doing the same as our ancestors have all done. So yeah, lovely rainbow captures by people that we've been highlighting. These permanently reside where you see them.
Thank you, Chris, for the super chat donation.
And then also, if I can share one,
Yeah,
if you don't
good.
mind, if I can,
Nine.
if I can pull it up. Hold on. Where did it go? Oh my gosh. There it is. Okay. Still trying to get this sharing.
226 people watching. Hey, if you guys are having fun and enjoying this, hit the thumbs up right now. Take the time to quickly hit the thumbs up. All right.
Okay. So like this is what I was saying. Like, see how it's completely centered over this? So these locations are special. So people that are seeing rainbows repeatedly in their area, you know, try to figure out what is at the center of this thing. And this is local. Look how small it is compared to this mountain range. That's not a dome. That's not coming off a dome. You know, that's nonsense.
No, we don't follow the dome model at all. We've no proof of a dome, so we don't really entertain it. You know, it doesn't mean there's nothing up there. We've no idea what's up there. No one has. We can only look as high as the stars. We've no idea what's above there. So we haven't written it off, but we don't entertain them because you're putting yourself in a position to answer it and you can't. So, you know, why put yourself in that position? We're open-minded, you know, we're not closed-minded, but we don't subscribe to what you would call a contained world. As you can see with the date lines, there's a beyond. Why are we containing ourselves? You know, the containment comes with the globe, the edges of the globe, the date lines. People aren't seeing beyond there is the problem. And there is a beyond there in all directions.
Yeah. And then with this next one, you know, you don't always have to be really high up to see, but these are full circles. See how it goes down into the ground? Like, why is it going down into the ground? You know,
Lives
you
there,
can
doesn't it?
clearly see, right? You can clearly see that this goes beyond the surface and comes back out and around. You know, you have to ask why.
Yeah, it lives there, it resides there, and it's doing its role there. You know, these are what you could actually call gates. You know, look at that as a gate. What it really is, what it's showing us is, you know, the halos we speak of that's below ground that have always been here. This is one of their locations. And this effect we're seeing here is electromagnetism. It's electricity 90 degree in opposition to the physical magnet below. So this is what that looks like on this scale. Let's call it a creator size scale. You know, this is not, we didn't build this. It was already here. This has always been here. And we're looking at electromagnetics on this kind of scale and bigger. We've seen them, you know, span oceans, these things. They're huge.
Yeah.
Okay, let me share this quick video with you guys. I want to show you guys the Falcon SpaceX launch that appears to have done something that no other launch that there's two launches that did something strange, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this. Some people say it's like trying to rip a hole in the dome or punch through the firmament, and I would just be curious to see what you guys think this is. Let me go ahead and pull it up. All right, so this is a SpaceX Falcon 9 launch. And I'm sure you guys maybe seen this happen before, but it goes up and it does this weird thing that only two rockets I've ever seen do this. And this does happen. I've seen it with my own two eyes. Oh shit, am I showing? Oh yeah, I am showing it. Okay. So have you guys seen this video before? FPV one?
I haven't.
No?
Yes, I actually, yes, I have one. I made a video about it a few years ago. I'm just looking for it now, the video. Yeah,
Okay,
when
because
it makes a big pattern in the sky, doesn't it?
it splits, and then there's two different objects. There's one that pulsates, and then there's another one to the left that looks like it keeps going. But they say that that's a rocket being lit up with swamp gas. That's the official science. Mainstream science says that that's swamp gas, and that the pulsating object that it dropped was a booster re-entering the atmosphere. So I was interested what you guys might think that is, because I had people saying they're busting through the dome, trying to bust through the firmament, Project Bluebeam. I mean, answers are all over the map. And of course, I don't know for sure. That's why we talk about stuff like this. So I was wondering what you thought something like that might be.
Right. Can you see this video, Jack?
Yes, I can.
Right. This is the thing you're seeing in the sky, or variations of it, should we say. This is what people are noticing around the world. They're seeing these weird projections in the sky. It's called projections for now. They're not actually projections. Well, they are, but they're not. This is what's been reported around the world, and this was a few years ago. I put this video out. I was creating different videos showing exactly the same thing. To me, this is this technology being tested by man. Look at that giant horn. You see that? Spirals. This is how this technology works, and we can go deeper into how that works with the likes of Nikola Tesla, because I actually quote some of his work in here, which is going to surprise people. There's the one that you speak of, like this, yeah?
Well, the Falcon X, or not the SpaceX launches, yeah, these did happen. So I did see it with my own eyes. So some people will claim that it's CGI, or that it's something that you see on the screen. No, these things you do actually see in the sky, and so the videos aren't fake. And so the second time that this happened with SpaceX, I saw it. And let me find the one that has the pulsating object that I found.
Chris Jackson said it very well. It's hitting a different pressure system, which would make sense.
It's gone through the layers, isn't it? We're in the denser layers, so it's going to show more in the lower layers, isn't it?
Yeah, like the atmosphere does have different layers, and they have different pressures and different temperatures and so on.
Now, if you can see on the screen what I'm sharing there, this goes back to 1935 and Nikola Tesla's work. He was trying to sell technology to Great Britain for the defense of Great Britain, and it was basically this particle accelerator technology. When you read through this.
Okay.
Now, if you read through it carefully, you can see, it's relating to charging the higher potential terminals and for projecting the particles to distances of 100 miles or more. I hope you can see that, people.
We have the alien technology agreement thing on screen. I'm sorry about that. I didn't have your other video. Can you back this one up? There's like something on screen that's like playing a commercial. I might be showing the wrong thing.
Where's that coming from?
Okay.
That's not on my screen.
That's me?
It wasn't me.
Maybe that's on my side.
I'm playing this one.
Okay. Oh, shit. That's something on my side. My fault. Okay, continue.
Right. There you go. Right. So, I'll just flick through here because you probably missed that. These are different projections people see around the world that are collated onto this video. So you can see, this is man testing this technology. That's the same kind of thing you were seeing, isn't it? And then we get to Nikola Tesla and the FBI files, or the Freedom of Information release on Nikola Tesla's work. And I'll pause that there so people can get a screenshot or look at it, because this is exactly what you're looking at in the sky right there. This is that technology. Now, this was 1935, remember. It's not new.
They say that the rocket drops a booster, and that it's swamp gas as it burns up going into the atmosphere. But it does a pulsating thing. So there's two pieces, and they come apart, and it looks like there's like a plasma that even comes out, or some sort of material that gets dispersed with this thing. And there's one object that'll keep flying off like a rocket, and then there's another object that pulsates. So I can't quite figure out, like, if they maybe even tried to test a weapon on us or disperse some sort of material into the atmosphere.
Well, exactly, because we have no idea what kind of pollution that's doing in the atmosphere. Anyway, the atmosphere is definitely reacting to what it's doing, and it is this technology, what you can see in this file here, that's doing it. This is where the name particle accelerator comes from. So they were working with this technology in the late 1800s, it seems. So they've always, it's always been here as far as we're concerned. But, you know, look through that there. That's on Nikola Tesla's files. And it shows you they were working with this technology back then, projecting particles to distances of hundreds of miles or more. So that's what you're looking at there. It's a projected particle from this technology.
Interesting. All right.
It's not. It's not.
Wondering what your take on that was.
They're not projecting the sun yet, but you can imagine they're building up to doing it. China's already launched a fake one. Remember, I've debunked that on my channel, but I've got it unlisted. We'll probably get a strike or something. But it was just a bunch of people looking at a screen, pretending there was something real in front of them. So no, China can't launch a sun. They want you to think they can. They want you to think this technology is theirs. But what I'm showing you, it's been here a long time. It's always been here. Our research just keeps proving it. Everywhere we look, we can find this technology existed. They had different names for it and different ways of depicting it, but they're all talking about the same technology. Now, whose is it? Has anyone ever described what the Creator's glory actually is to anyone? Because this is what it really is. Whoever the creator is of this technology is the creator of this construct. So we would call this the Genesis machine, because this technology plays a very big part in nature, elements, everything. It's the genetic makeup of everything is within this technology. It's you know, we're governed by its processes. It's part of our nature. We're in harmony with it. Is what it's showing us. You know, could we exist without it? Probably not. I mean, life would be pretty hard without this technology doing what it does, because it creates what we're calling nature, which we'll get into deeper with Walter Russell's work. So yeah, you know, we have got an answer for that. It's man testing this technology, and they want you to think it's one of their rockets going to space or going somewhere. But you'll notice most of the flights are quite horizontal.
There, I'll show. This is the best one that I could find as far as that video is concerned. I want to show this pulsating part because, and I think this could even possibly be in a weapon that they tested on us. So here you go. So this one I think is probably the best video available. And see, look, I see it looks like material is being dispersed and shot out. And then it splits in two, and one piece starts doing this pulsating thing while the other piece seems to like fly away like some sort of a rocket. So this bottom piece that you see here, the one it's focused in on, will start pulsating, and then the other one seems to just fly away. So it looks like they dispersed material. I don't know what, of course, and then it'll start pulsating here in a minute. And this is what I found the most fascinating about this, because I've seen all sorts of firework displays, but I've never seen anything like this in the sky. And I saw this with my own two eyes the second time. It wasn't this close, of course, but there it is, the
Wow.
pulsating, spiraling kind of thing. See that?
It's almost like it's emitting a frequency of some sort. Look, that's like radio waves.
They say that's it. Mainstream science says, don't be alarmed. It's just a booster burning up into the atmosphere.
Yeah, okay.
It's just a booster. That's just some swamp gas. Now, here's the deal. After I saw that, about 30 minutes after I saw that, I was overwhelmed with a really weird, dizzy feeling when I was out walking my dog.
Yeah,
And
that's like an electromagnetic, some kind of a frequency they set off on.
I was walking my dog like 30 minutes after I saw this, and I'm not kidding. I had this weird dizzy feeling take over, and I had this thought that I've never had. Maybe I should lay down in those bushes and die. I was like, whoa, I need to get back to my apartment and lay down. So I quickly got back to my apartment and laid down. I felt dizzy and woozy for maybe 20, 30 minutes, and then it subsided. But I found people in the comment section of this video claiming that they had a bad negative health reaction after seeing this. So I'm not the only one.
I'm not surprised, because what what you're looking at there in the ether, it's actually reacting. You know, it's creating gases there. What you're seeing there is gases being created by this technology. As that's punching through our atmosphere, our ether, it's reacting to it, and that's the message kind of leaving behind it in that layer. And that's, it's got nowhere to go but down again, is it? So people's going to be breathing that in. I said that in that old video. You know, people need to start taking air samples and find out what the hell we're actually breathing in here. And like you say, you know, these other effects, you know, one's highlighted many, you know, you've looked at all kinds with EMFs and hauntings and things, haven't you? And it all can be tied to this technology and its functions.
Right. So electromagnetics give you the same thing that you were just saying. It can be dizziness, flashes of light, like a tingling or pain and a stimulation of your nerves. Static magnetic fields can also have effects on the human brain. And some people may be more sensitive than others, just like, you know, our sight and hearing, we have a certain spectrum, but some people may be more sensitive and be able to see things a little bit out of that spectrum and hear things out of that spectrum. And all of that also can relate to haunted areas. Those are the same effects that people say they feel when they're in a haunted house. So we're feeling some kind of electromagnetics, you know, and if there are such thing as spirits and ghosts, then they would, you know, circulate and work outside of our normal sight and hearing spectrum. But it doesn't mean they don't exist. And I'm not saying it does that mean they do exist. But what I'm saying is, you know, these things will affect us. It's all the same thing. And that thing that was just pulsating, that was totally weird. And it looked like a radio signal, you know, how it came off on both sides, like a radio signal. And that, you know, for the first thing that came to my mind was it was sending off some kind of radio waves, magnetics to affect people. And then if you felt that way, that's just more correlation.
Now here's the other thing that happened in 2006, 17, and then 18. So there's only 2 launches that did this. So NASA launches never did that. I've never seen a NASA launch do that. And so they're like, oh, it's just swamp gas, whatever. It just happens. But I've never seen a NASA launch before SpaceX do it. And I haven't seen one of these happen in the last like 4 years since the one in 2018. So if this is a common thing that happens when you take off just after dark, blah, 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 then we should have been seeing this a long time ago. It shouldn't be this new phenomenon that only happened twice that I know of. Also, real fast, on a separate note, this is a personal friend of mine. He's also a flat earther. He has a website where you can play sports with your friends, and he wants you to check out his website. It's called 10athletes.com. You play sports with your friends, and you can track your stats and wins and losses. No matter what sport you play, you can find it on his website. And so shout out to my friend Brian with 10athletes.com. All right, go ahead, guys. What do you want to show next at this point?
Where should we go next, Lon?
How about let's go through like jet streams, the jet streams of North America. How about that?
Yeah, let's go for that.
We'll just turn a little bit that direction. So I don't have a lot to show with it, but what I want to do is point out the jet streams of North America. Let me get them pulled up because I'm not very good at sharing on this yet. So we know they look like this. You can see that, yes?
Yes, can.
Okay, so we know that this is the jet stream of North America, right? We live here. We know this is fact. So what do we think is creating these winds? So Enoch says that the angels create the winds, correct? And so we were showing the halos, and obviously behind that, the sun was that crazy projection that looks like an angel with wings. But when you go to the science side of what, you know, Enoch is more of a religious side, then you come into, I should have been better prepared, sorry. Then we'll come into this. So on here, so all these red dots are known particle accelerators in North America. So if you actually look between them right here, see my mouse, is it showing?
Hold on, let me bring it up. I was getting rid of a troll in chat. Okay, go ahead. Yes,
Yeah.
I can see it.
You can see my mouse?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you follow this in between these accelerators, right up here, come down, swoop, and right here, we know by living here that this is how our weather patterns follow, right? And our jet stream, just like this. Our storms come in from the west, sometimes down from the north, and they come across to the east, and they follow like this sine wave pattern. So now when you think about Enoch and then these particle accelerators, which nowadays we would call them particle accelerators, what we're really talking about is the technology. Whether they want to call them angels a long time ago or whatever we want to call them now, it's this technology is creating these winds. So our jet stream follows between these where they're generated. Does that make sense?
Sort of. I don't know a whole lot about like jet streams, like for, you know, like it's not one of those things that I can go up there and like myself and really, whenever I look at graphics like that, I'm always just like, I take it all with a grain of salt,
I live right here. Okay. So I can tell you for a fact that when the storms come in, they're either going to come down for me from this direction, or they're going to come up this way. And sometimes we'll get this way if there's like a hurricane coming in, but that's kind of rare. So when they come in, they're going to come in this way, but then they come down for us, and they come and then they roll across this way.
No, the geography makes sense because Washington State and Oregon get a bunch more rain than we do in California. And then when you see Nevada, Arizona, Utah, they're in that part where you show it kind of goes over the top of them. And so they're missing a lot of that rain. So that actually reflects the color of the terrain on the map. Right.
So, you know, what this is telling me is that Enoch was correct. I mean, and these areas that they've dug down into, these accelerator areas or these lab areas, these underground labs, which are probably studying whatever's below, this is probably what's generating our winds, you know, the winds that come from the north or the west.
I noticed this year has been particularly more windy than usual. I don't know if it's just like a regional thing, but like my dad lives in Utah, and he told me that the wind was the worst that he's ever been. And he's lived there for like over 20 years. And so he told me the wind in Utah was the worst it's ever been ever. And then I noticed it's been extra windy this year as well where I live. So I don't know what that is. What if they're ramping up the winds lately or what, but it seems that this year was more windy than others, at least for me.
Well, to me, it would be cycles because Earth runs on cycles, right? So everything's going to have a cycle, and some years we're going to have drought, some years we're going to have more wind, some more rain. You know, sometimes it'll end up being colder, like back in the 1600s when we were in what they called a mini ice age. And on that one, it showed that, you know, North America was pretty much frozen all the way down halfway. And because the North cold had brought its way down, and a lot of Europe that year, you know, died of famine and disease because it was so cold and they couldn't grow crops and it snowed during the summer. So Earth has cycles, and I think the winds are just the exact same thing, that these things are going to kick on and run on their certain cycle, just like, you know, old volcanoes that don't erupt now that they call extinct. You know, I don't know if they're actually extinct, and it just because it doesn't erupt in our lifetime, then it just might be on a cycle. It doesn't mean that it's extinct. It's just at rest, and it's not its time. You know.
And can we answer Rose's question real quick? She asks, any idea how long the shape of the Earth has been known?
I don't think anyone knows the true shape of Earth. How can you without exploration?
What about the ones, you know, at the tippity top of the pyramid? Wouldn't you think that they know the shape?
I think they're probably still out there exploring it themselves, having the time of their lives.
Yeah, but I think that
that's a good answer. I like that.
I think they know a lot more than,
You know what I like about extra land is it opens up a place for dead celebrities to go. You know, Elvis, Kobe Bryant, whoever. You know, like anyone who dies of a circumstance that doesn't make any sense, some celebrity death, they just go. They have to have some place that they go to. I figure where they can retire and live amongst other celebrities and not have to worry about signing autographs. So other land opens up the possibility for these dead celebs to have like a retirement at the end of their life. They can go to this other place and no longer be seen in public anymore. So that's what I like about opening the option of new land is that my imagination can really run wild, you know.
Yeah, well, after Epstein's death, his aircraft was seen heading towards Antarctica, so you're probably closer to the truth than you realize. The world really is a stage, and it's been conducted from outside of our known boundaries, it seems. But, while we're on the wave that one showed you there, I'll just screen share this one while we're on the wave. Which one was it? Nope, not that one. Here we go, one of these. Is that showing yet?
Oh, yep, let me pull it up for you.
Right, this is one of our previously released large videos. I think it's about 2.5 hours long, this. Lots of decodings and paths you probably want to look into. I'm just looking for a certain bit of it. Here we are, onto the waveforms. Oops, too far. Lots of information on that video, guys. It's called the 144,000. So if you want to get up to date on some of our newer stuff, it's in that video you want to be looking. I'm trying to find a certain, there it is. Right, so there's some more waves that you might recognize. This is what the Milky Way is really doing, and how it seems to be interacting with the world chakras. So this is where the world chakras come into it. Because to us, they're what you would call guides, wave guides. So they can play a part in manipulating these waveforms, like we said with the sun crossing the map. So it can guide it up a map and down the map. So, we think the Milky Way is actually doing this, and it would also generate what we would call alternating current, which is what I think Nikola Tesla discovered. The alternating current, your day and night, you've got a positive and negative there. But we also found in the Glastonbury Tour video, when we looked at fog and one was researching neutrinos, we also get neutrals. So you've got the positives, negatives, and neutrals taking place in the ether that we can actually identify as like the likes of fog. It's in your neutral state twice a day. We're awaiting what we would say is programming. This technology basically programs the ether to be positives, neutrals, or negatives, and put to good use because it's generating energy, power. This is what lightning is. This is this technology harnessing from the ether. That's what they're doing. A lightning storm, this is one of these angels doing what they do. They're harvesting the energy from the ether. They create the spiral. The cone coming up from its halo underground is going to interact with the atmosphere. That's where your cone comes into it, like from outside of the Vatican. It represents the spiral coming from the halo. Very important, and it plays a very important role in converting what we would say elements into matter. It can convert elements into matter, electromagnetism, using the octaves that Walter Russell speaks of. Your do, re, mi, fa, sol, those octaves are involved in creation, believe it or not. Also that movie, that's your do, re, mi, fa, sol. This technology, the octaves of this technology is what helps us work out how to generate free electricity, because all it's doing is compressing the light spectrum to a fusion point. That's where we start getting into Walter Russell's work, because Walter Russell's work really is the science of this technology. He doesn't say it is, but he did say this technology, this knowledge was given to him by an angel. Now, you can read into that how you want, but as we decode his work and relate it to how this technology works, it makes perfect sense. So the man was telling the truth as far as I'm concerned. It's the best real science you're ever going to come across that really describes how this world works. And what we're doing is showing you how how we can relate that science to this technology. It's talking about the same thing. So a nuclear reactor would be the Egyptian pyramid, for instance. That there is a nuclear reactor, a nuclear power station from the past.
Now, real quick, how do you think they built the pyramids? Do you think that's a hidden technology? Because I've heard, everything from like aliens built them to no, it's a hidden technology and they levitated the blocks with their minds. And then I've heard even as basic as like, oh, you take some rock cement and you have a wet block and then you let it dry. And then you take another wet rock cement block and form that one and let it dry. So I've heard it described as rock cement, which to me is like a magic trick. Like that makes the most sense. Whereas I've heard other people say this is alien technology. This is a technology by the creator that, proving that man can't make a pyramid. So I'm interested to hear what is your take on the pyramid.
Well, I would also apply giants into the mix of creating what we're seeing around the world. The size of these temples, I don't think man created a lot of these temples. The scale's not right for our, for humans. Well, humans of our scale. So, people aren't considering giants and possibly titans from the past.
Good call. Giants picking up and lifting the blocks and putting it together like a Tetris puzzle, basically.
Well, yeah, it'd probably take them 10 minutes, wouldn't it? Somewhere of that scale, it wouldn't take very long for them to build something.
And people may have been a lot larger back then. It depends on, were there little people and big people, or were we all just a lot bigger?
I mean, with just human examples, if you look at the smallest midget and then you look at the biggest giant, just of our human examples that we know of, like there's a huge discrepancy there. And so if you look at it like that perspective, like we might be more on the smaller side compared to how big a human could have possibly gotten. Like Andre the Giant was 7 feet tall, 500 pounds at his biggest. And so that was a guy who died of giantism, they call it, when your body just keeps producing growth hormone until you can't support your own weight and die. So I find it fascinating when people bring up giant.
Amazing anime.
Because people are quick to dismiss that like, oh, giants, whatever. But
right. And also as our Earth goes through its cycles again, with different, expansion and compressions of our Earth in general, and maybe even our atmospheres, people would grow and shrink to fit into this world, I
mean, if there are dwarf humans who are only, 3 feet tall, and then there's men who are 7 feet tall, that's quite a drastic difference, and there's men who are 400 or 500 pounds, and then people under 100 pounds. So just that difference alone with what we can see now, you can just figure that if you just multiplied that, by double and say maybe people could get to 14 feet tall or 15 feet tall.
Yeah, they found bones. They found bones supposedly. Now, I don't know if they're real, but supposedly they found bones that are 15, 16 feet tall, Plus, what about these so-called dinosaur bones? Sorry. Who's to say that they're actually dinosaur bones? Who's to say they're not the old life bones that were here?
I don't think
for
a second that they're dinosaur bones. Not for a second. And then a lot, in the museums, they have a bunch of plaster casts and stuff for, replicas. So they don't even claim to have a full skeleton for real. And so they'll claim to have one bone, and then they assemble the rest of the damn dinosaur with what they think it should look like. And some of the shapes that dinosaurs are just don't make any sense as far as like from an evolutionary standpoint, like why these dinosaurs would look as ridiculous as they do. So I don't think that those are dinosaur bones, but there could have been really large animals or some animals they don't want us to know about, right? Or large humans, and call those dinosaur bones.
Because all life would have been larger. If people were larger, it wouldn't have been just people, And they're just going to make up some shit to keep their evolution theories and their science alive and well versus any type of creationism.
Well, evolution falls apart real fast when you just break it down to how much luck is involved with the Earth having to be in the Goldilocks zone. It has to be in the Goldilocks zone where water is wet and it's not too hot and it's not too cold, and your sun and moon are the same size. So when you look at all the stuff that just lined up just perfectly from a mainstream science standpoint, and one of those killer rocks didn't come along and screw the whole thing up, you know what I mean? Like, except for the dinosaurs. But for us, there hasn't been that killer rock to come along and screw things up for us. Luckily, not yet, right?
Right.
So when you look at all the stuff that has to go right in the evolutionary model for water to take cells that just appeared somehow, churn them together, and create a complex life form like a fish, and then the fish decides it's going to grow some legs and get out and start walking around on the land and turn into a monkey, of course. And then the monkey decides that he wants to lose its hair and he wants to work in an office cubicle and talk on a cell phone. And then here's the coolest thing is right now we're evolved monkeys having a talk about how we used to be monkeys. And guess what? They're still monkeys. That's my favorite part. All the half in between monkey people died. The monkey people hybrids died. Now you have people, you have monkeys. You don't have any in-betweeners. No, all the monkeys decided to stay monkeys. They stayed monkeys. The ones who wanted to turn into humans turned into humans. All the hybrids in between all did. They did not have what it takes to survive. And that's evolution for you, right?
Right.
I actually like the South Park version of it. Anyway, on screen, can you see that? Now, remember I said about World War II, securing the perimeters?
Yes.
What came next? The Cold War. So what were they really doing underground with these nuclear detonations? We've added the grid so you can see where these detonations took place. So to us, they're tunneling or blasting their way down to the underworld is what's really taking place here. Because you've got to look, these are supposed to be the world's enemies, yet they've all got the same common denominators, which would be space agency or attachments to, nuclear technology, and particle accelerators. The free
So you think we weren't really at war with these guys, that we were just heading underground with them, working together with them, and then the cover story is that they're our enemy kind of deal?
Yeah, it's good cop, bad cop. It's the same. It's two sides of the same coin. They're playing us all. They're turning people against each other, but they're the controllers. They control both sides of the argument.
Well, they fake space together, and to me, that is the nail in the coffin that all the governments of the world work together. You can't be enemies with China or Russia, and then they both tell the same exact space story that you tell. If Russia was truly our enemy, they would be saying that the Americans never went to the moon, they're faking space, yada yada. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you never see any country expose our fake space missions, and instead you see them hanging out on the space station together. Having a circle jerk together up on the fake station. So if they're going along with the fake space lie, then you definitely have to consider that they're all in cahoots guarding this section of the map together.
Yep, 100%. The world's a stage. The world fell to this a long time ago, it seems to us, a couple of thousand years ago, if timelines are to be believed. You could probably chop 1,000 off that. They can insert any story into history because they're the ones writing history.
And for anyone joining us late, can you go over the center point right there on screen again for anyone who's joined us over the last hour or so?
Go over the center point.
Just real quick. Yeah, what is that? Just tell people on screen what that center point is for anyone who joined us late.
Center point would be the heart of this technology below the heart of the machine. And everything emanating outwards from it is being powered by it. It seems all the power is coming from it and returning to it, and it just keeps sending it around the grid. This is the grid in the underworld. Do you want to get into ley lines one?
Layla, yeah.
Yeah. Right, I'll get that off the screen. But anyway, on screen there, this is the nuclear detonations now overlaid with the grid, so you can see what was really going on with the grid and what they were really doing around this grid, in our opinion. But yeah, over to you,
one. Okay, ley lines. So we've all heard of ley lines, I'm sure. 2 energy points connected by a line. And along that line, there's always weird, anomalous things that happen, energetics and such. So I took our map, and this was a little older map, just so you know, because I put the center point here. We ended up moving it after our research to where this arrow is actually.
Okay, well, that's still pretty close.
Pretty close. So, you know, this all came after time, and we've done a lot of research to get to where we're at. But anyway, I you know, drew the grid on my Mercator map and put all the little different dots, you know, that we're saying are, you know, the star halos and the angels or accelerators or, you know, technology, whatever you want to call it, to feel comfortable. And all of these green lines would be the ley lines of our world. So these are all of the energy points that I marked and located and connected to one another.
Oh, we lost your sound.
Sorry, I muted for 1 second. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But so, you know, I marked a lot of different things here. One, I took these black lines and I followed earthquake paths, because earthquakes are a result of all of this stuff happening. They are an effect, and they are very predictable. And that's what kind of started me in this whole world was, you know, in this world with FPV. I was actually doing it before him, but earthquakes are predictable. They will happen in the same spots repeatedly over and over and over.
Do you think that they can be like put on by the government? Like, do you think there's a technology where they can force an earthquake per se, or is it only something that happens as an effect?
Well, I'm sure that they could manipulate it, and I think that they manipulate it possibly also through fracking. If they can make one happen, I don't know. Now, I heard Tesla had some kind of an earthquake machine, but I don't know. And we all know that they stole all of his work, you know, when he died, and he died absolutely broken and not known as a brilliant man until later, and you know, later. But I don't know.
It would be a hell of a weapon. So I'm guessing, if
Yeah.
I can think it, and it's a hell of a weapon, that there's somebody out there who tried to work on doing exactly that. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were on if you think that man can create earthquake, or if you think that that's beyond our capability. But just
Right.
wondering.
So most of it, I think, is, you know, natural effects that happen. I think it's effects that we feel on our surface due to whatever is going on below. And a lot of that would be our luminaries moving. You know, that's going to cause some kind of a rumbling, especially because we truly believe as above, so below. So if there's something above that we see, there's something below making it happen. And that would cause our world to rumble. A lot of these earthquakes also fall at about 10 kilometers deep. And that would probably be about where some of this technology would lie. That's also about where they dug down to, you know, at the, what is it, the Cola borehole?
Yeah,
Cola bunghole. No.
Okay.
Borehole. No, borehole.
That place. That place. So I marked a lot of places. So I marked weather modification stations, which I put white pins. I marked all of the nuclear and power plants in red. And I thought it was really interesting that here around the CERN area, these power plants come out and they make this crazy little spiral. I don't know if you can see that. This map, it's kind of hard to see because this is a much older picture. And I don't remember what else I marked. I marked like crystal caves and the chakras of the world and a whole bunch of different things. And then I connected them all. So this would be a full scale of what our world ley lines are. These are all of the energy points that I could think of, and I'm sure there's many, many, many more, and connected them all. And these, if we were to look into each of these areas, I'm sure we would find something on these crossover points that would point us in the direction of if this is accurate or not. That would take a whole lot of work. So that's not something I've done.
But yeah, the Rainbow Warrior program that we started, that will help us, place things like this on the map, where a bit more accurate as well, won't it? We can start overlapping where they, where they lead to, where they're coming from and going to, the directions of them, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And now that we've gotten a lot further into this, we have a lot more ideas and ways to actually exactly pinpoint where these things are, like you said, with our rainbow warriors. So we're marking and GPS locating these rainbows that people are finding repeatedly in the same locations. And it'll always be the power plants and accelerator spots, which, everybody knows about CERN, but does everybody know that there's like, I forget what, like 20 or 30,000 accelerators in the world? I mean, you can look that up, and then you can also go find a site where they give you a whole list of them. And
Like
that's
HARP,
not quite
there's not just HARP. There's like a bunch of different facilities just like it,
right.
all over. So
Right. Those are the weather modification stations. Exactly. All those white pins, that's all just like harps. So those were included in that part. But
yeah, they have
and
some
then
big ones up in Alaska. I know,
yeah,
but
yeah,
they have they have them scattered everywhere. So we only hear
yeah.
about HARP, we hear about HARP, we hear about CERN, but they don't talk about any other ones so much. You don't know, like most people don't, ever
Right.
mention anything outside of those.
Like I didn't know that right here in my state of Illinois, up north near Chicago, but outside of Chicago, it's the second world's biggest accelerator called Fermilab. And they say it's now shut down. However, it's still taking in donations and getting grants for, thousands and $1 million a year, but yet it's shut down and not running anymore. So, yeah. There's just a lot we don't know about because we're not educated on this stuff. Some
I
things
think
they just hide.
there's probably a shop somewhere called Honest George's Discount Accelerators, because everyone seems to be getting them and no one seems to be getting built. No one seems to be
Right,
getting
right.
built. They're just, there's one here as well. When was that one built? Because according to them, it takes 10 years to build one, but we couldn't actually find any videos of them building it.
Right.
So as far as we're concerned, they're redressing it, painting it, and saying they built it. It was already here.
And that's the same with these underground labs, which I covered not too long ago. I went into a bunch of different underground labs where they're studying neutrinos and different cosmic effects. Well, why the fuck are they digging down into the earth a good 100 miles or however far down each one is to study the effects of the cosmos, which they say is in outer space so completely far away from us and out of our atmosphere? Why in the hell are they doing that? Why are they digging down in the ground to study the stars? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I looked into it, and I'm pretty sure they've dug down and they are studying and learning how this technology works so that they can either try to, manipulate it, one, or two, try to reverse engineer it or copy it or make their own versions. So I'm going to, I don't have a whole lot else about it because that'll put me into a rant. I'm trying not to rant today. So.
No, this is good. This is good. We've covered a lot of ground today so far. We're about 2 hours in. We're up to 230 people watching. I'm sure a lot of people learned something new today from just what we've showed and discovered you maybe even for the first time. So if everyone is still enjoying the chat or the stream so far, please give us a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm and all that good stuff. So give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying it, and anything else you want to share. The floor is yours. I'm enjoying the stream, and I'm here to research and learn. So it's been a good stream so far. So whatever you guys still want to show. I
should be sharing one there, Jake. You can see it. Yeah, this is a 3D modeler made of the sun's halo system that we've been able to, cobble together over the years and get this model from it. So what I want people to do here is take some screenshots of that, because this is what you're seeing in the sky. Well, parts of this, you see three suns. It's the sun and two nodes either side of it is what you're seeing. Now, these nodes would be would be poles, like north and south poles, because this is how you accelerate the flow in a halo. You know, so the angel with a halo, the halo is basically a giant electromagnetic coil. That's why they're depicted with a halo. And it's this kind of coil that it's speaking of. You know, this is electromagnetic switching that would accelerate the flow and cause a disturbance in the ether. That disturbance would be a spiral. This is what's sacred about the spiral, people. It relates to this technology. And the scarab beetle. Look at the shape. It's the same shape as Buddha. They all had depictions of the shapes in so many different forms, but it's actually easy to recognize them now. We know what we're dealing with. The ancients all knew this. Our ancestors were all very aware of all of this. You can't really hide it once you start decoding it and seeing it. They depicted it everywhere. But yeah, get screenshots of this, and that's what you're going to see in the sky from the sun. On the moon one's pretty much similar, but looks larger because it's.
And then if somebody wants to show this video or find it, what's the name of this video on your channel?
This is called APM Research, the Sun Halo System 3D Model and Scarab Beetle Decoded. You know, so I'm showing you how the scarab beetle actually relates to the shape of these halos. And the halo shape, you know, it's an Adam and Eve configuration. The large halo is the female or the negative of the configuration, and the smaller one would be Adam, the positive. Between them, that's Adam and Eve. Between them, the apple is their torus field that they create below the rainbow. Adam and Eve is talking about how this technology works. Atlas and Alice, Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary, Isis and Ra. It's all the same story. It's all about this personified technology of the creator. Whomever the creator is, they deserve their glory. And that's what we're basically showing you and decoding. What else could it be? You know, you find all this in holy books and glyphs, myths, legends, everything. It all relates to this. Different times in our history, it's all coming back to this. All roads lead to hiding this.
Your take is entirely different than any I've ever heard, and it's extremely detailed and thought out. So, like I said, this is the only explanation I've ever heard that's anything like this. And you have the graphics and everything. So it just shows the level of research you went into with this, that you got these graphics and everything to show people. So rather than just say, oh, it must be a reflection off the dome, you really went the extra mile. And so I find it fascinating myself, still trying to wrap my mind over all these details. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it is. It took us a long time to get here.
FPV's muted. I don't know if he means to be or not.
Right.
Yeah.
There you are.
You know, it's. I mean, our research is what you would call a rolling research and decode of the construct and how it works. And what you're looking at here is work done by Sandra, P900 Kubiks, and her husband. They both play a very big part in APM research, doing the graphics. And you know, this would be the halo, and all these interactions therein are caused by this technology within the spiral. So all our elements in the atmosphere are created by this technology. So here's the first for your channel, Jake. The angels are atmosphere processors. They process our atmosphere for us. And they are nuclear in nature, as in fusion technology, fission and fusion technology. And it's always been here. And there's a scientist now coming out basically saying what I'm saying.
You see, this type of thing kind of confuses me because it's hard for me to really like wrap my head around it the same way like the
oh yeah
you know what I mean? I'm looking at this for the first time, and I know my audience is probably also like me, like what in the hell am I even looking at? You know what I mean?
Well, what you're looking at here is what Walter Russell made, and this is the periodic chart, the table of elements. This is what he worked out in his time, and the way he relates it in this configuration works perfectly with this halo technology and how it works and how the octaves factor into it and are all pretty much involved in creation processes. All these elements you see on this chart are created by this technology in a system of duality by a halo above, which is electromagnetic, and a physical one below. Everything in between, you know, like a tornado or a water spout, you're only seeing half the picture. The other half's taking place below. So Walter's work is basically explaining how it works and how it factors in and creates all these elements in our atmosphere. On the ground, of course, you know, it penetrates everything, this. So you've got a sphere of electrical domination and magnetic domination, parts of it, and hard and softness. All these things come into these elements. So shooting stars are this technology creating. Things like shooting stars and asteroid, you know, we've looked into things like that. They appear in the same place for a reason, because it's this technology starting up and doing it.
Electromagnetic discharging.
Yeah.
They happen every year at the same time. You can look at those meteor showers at the same time every year in the same spot. You know, that's a process.
So, you know, we we have decoded Walter Russell's work to fit in with this perfect and help us explain it. You know, you're going to see Walter's work come into life in our research and really show you what it relates to. All of this relates to what we're talking about here. And this is the science of this world. Nikola Tesla told Walter to lock this away for 1,000 years until mankind's ready for it. I can see why. I know mankind's not ready for this. We weren't ready for finding this out. But I don't think we've got much time ahead of us. It's important to us to get this information out so that it exists. It has to exist and continue. We may never finish this in our lifetime. We're just scratching the surface of something very big. But we'll scratch this. You know, we'll scratch.
Sorry. Well, I got a basic question from chat from Rose with a super chat. She asks, how do the controllers research and explore the shape?
Well, they've got access to the beyond already, haven't they? They've made these barriers. They can cross them. We can't.
They have access to all the ships and planes.
Yeah, they're running the show from outside our known barriers, basically. Outside the known world. You know, don't forget, they were planting flags in Antarctica in 1939. So this is them moving outside of the known world map to places beyond. Admiral Byrd mentioned something about that. South of the South Pole. Well, how could that, how would that translate on a globe? South of the South Pole? You just wouldn't say that, would you? That's like going out into space somewhere on a globe. No, he means south of the South Pole. There's more land and there's bigger continents there than USA, he said. He's talking about this map and beyond it. So, from what we can see, they're probably still out there mapping it all. We have no idea how big it is. Who says there's an edge? We don't know what's out there. It could be never ending. We have no idea. But what we noticed in the Nazca lines, the Nazca lines helped us go beyond the date lines, because we can see when we overlay it on the grid, it goes beyond the date lines. So it's showing us there is things beyond, if it's true to scale. And as far as we're concerned, with the Nazca line overlays in the grid, it's around 96% accurate, because of how it lines up with certain things in the world. We're quite comfortable to say that's around 96% accurate of where it needs to be in the world, and where this grid and technology exists below it and beyond it.
All right.
There's someone, I don't know if other people have even considered technology, Jake. I see this whole community has been held back with certain maps and models. It's never progressed. It's the same old regurgitated nonsense being put on the people, and it's just to keep the argument going. These people cause the arguments between globers, and it's them creating all the drama.
It is, and it's a controlled argument on both sides. I think they have, the professional globe cucks who aren't real regular people, in my opinion. They're in on it. And then you have the professional AE map pushers who appear to be doing it for a living. And then they'll go to war with the globe cucks and have their debates. So they have basically like a scripted debate process. Craig Fight the Fat Earth will debate some AE mapper, right? And then they'll go back and forth with that. And so the AE mapper looks like the retarded flat earth fool. And then Craig Fight the Fat Earth gets to be the hero who proves the globe. And so they have this basically, and then over on the other side, like Nathan Oakley does the same thing as well. It's always, globe versus pizza map, and so it seems like they want to control the narrative and control the process of debate. When, in my opinion, like, I don't want to debate against a professional globe cuck because it's a waste of time. You know what I mean? I'm not going to give Simon Dan, too much of my time, because I know that he's never going to change his mind. He's never going to see it my way.
No, no.
If anything, he'll just use what I say to make a video about me, you know?
Yeah, I banned them on site as soon as I've seen them. You know, they've had their chance. They've had a platform. I don't give them a platform. They've got nothing to bring to the table anyway. You know, it's just hearsay and Google. They've got Google Earth. That's it. They're Google Earthers. They think they live on a cartoon ball. Well, okay, yeah. You could try proving it. Prove it, mate. We're not interested in that. We're here for research. You know, the drama does come across sometimes from both sides of the argument, which you've probably noticed. That shouldn't be happening, you know. Yeah, from one side, but not this side of it. So, you know, there's infiltrators and frauds running rife in this community.
There's multiple gatekeepers. I like to think there's multiple gatekeepers trying to gatekeep this topic, because it's such an important deal when you realize the scope of how grand of a conspiracy it really is to barnyard us into this rectangular section, and then to hide that from us, make you think you're on a spinning ball in outer space. And then if you're able to break through that, then you get intercepted by the AE map cult and their cult immunity. And so they have these means to intercept you the minute you figure out that the globe is a lie. Now they've got your cult to accept you into the pizza pie map. And then if you figure out that's wrong, well, who's your friend now? Because all your pizza pie map friends are going to turn on you, and your family thinks you're crazy. So at the point when you say the pizza pie map's not right and Earth isn't a globe, and then you start saying maybe it might be a rectangle, basically you isolate yourself. And you probably have found out there's not a lot of people out there who even want to listen to you at that point. And so they really did a number on us by first tricking us with the globe, but then having the AE map cult to intercept anyone who dares say it's flat, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all scripted. Yeah. You know, it's to give the illusion that there's only two sides to this argument: the pizza map and the globe. That's, you know, that's what the guys that designed it like. They're trying to gatekeep it and take people's content and use it in there, and, you know, bolt it to their map and model, which we know doesn't work. There's too many ways to debunk it. You know, anyone honest with themselves would have ditched it years ago. So it shows you that, you know, we know they're dishonest people. We don't mind exposing them. You know, I didn't come here to expose people. We tried to be friendly with these people, but the way they behave, no, I'm just going to shoot them down in flames from now on. I'll call them out.
Yeah, they have the same set of excuses, and they haven't tried to advance even their circle map. Like, you haven't seen Eric Dubé, for instance, try and fix that map even slightly. Like, he's never even tried to move some of the continents around or do anything. So I look at some of these guys who are looked at as like the gurus of flat Earth, and when you really look at, like, okay, we pointed out that the AE map is wrong. It's been debunked by Globers and by other flat Earthers. And what they say is, well, it has problems. It's not perfect, but it's the best we got. They say it's the best we got. And to me, best is a subjective opinion. And so how can an AE mapper tell me it's the best that we got when I don't agree? I don't think it is the best that we got. But that's still their main excuse is it's not perfect, but it's the best we got. And it's easier for a glober to understand and become a flat earther. So I've heard Dave Weiss say, for instance, if you show people a rectangle, they're going to not become a flat earther, that they're more likely to become a flat earther if you show them the circle model first. So it's as if we're supposed to trick people with the circle model and then wean them off the circle model once they accept it. Right? Like, here's the circle model. Hey, guess what? That's wrong too. And then you have to wean them off of that. So,
well, would you be surprised that I've actually banned more flat earthers in the last year than I have globers?
No, not at all, because they're vitriolic as far as if you say that pizza map is wrong, they actually can come at you with more hatred and vitriol than a glober.
Yeah.
You know?
If you're coming at me with data, I'll sit there and listen. If you can come at me with stupidity, I'm just going to sit back and laugh at you. I didn't come here to make friends. I come here to find out the truth. And I've met some lovely friends along the way, and some pieces of shit that I won't have anything to do with ever again. That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, we're here for the truth. Whatever it takes to find it, we're going to pursue it to an end.
Yep.
That's the mission, you know. Where the hell do we live? How does it work? This is what they don't want you querying. They don't like you questioning the room. They want to control the room and what you can look at and what you can't.
And they've done a hell of a job. I mean, those hit piece documentaries, I can't imagine, you know, many people wanting to look into the subject after watching the Netflix documentary, for instance, you know, with Sargent and Patty Steer, you know, looking like buffoons on screen, representing what a flat earther is to the world. And so there's a lot of people who get turned off immediately because they saw the Netflix documentary and then they're like, "Oh, you're one of those people. I got you figured out." And it's like, no, I'm not one of those people. I wasn't in that documentary, and I have nothing like those people, and I don't have any of the same thoughts. So trying to distinguish yourself from those people can be tough, because a lot of people will just think if you're a flat earther, you're like those people that they saw in the Netflix documentary. You know?
Right. And at this point, it's best just to, I mean, stay away from calling yourself an actual flat earther because of what they've done to it. They have messed up the movement completely and made asses of themselves and keep pushing false information. I would rather just say I'm an APMer because that's what we do. We
Yeah,
just
we're
do
APM
APM.
researchers. We're investigative researchers would probably be better with terminology.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely not a globe, but it's definitely not an AE flat earth map like that.
And we study world mechanics and many other subjects.
And
No PhD required.
Rose with another donation. She asks, was the realization that the Earth is not the shape they say it is a life-changing moment for anyone? Well, it was for me the first time I looked into it to figure out that the Earth may not be a spinning ball was life-changing for me, and it still to this day has shock waves. You know, to this day, if I go back to my old hometown and someone sees me, they'll be like, "Oh, there's that flat Earth guy." I'm that flat Earth guy to everyone in my old hometown. You know what I mean? And so it changed my life with my family, changed my life with my friends. And so the minute you start thinking that you might not live on an Earth spinning in space, and that outer space might not actually be real, and you start to go down that path, and all the evidence basically confirms that space is fake, and you don't live on a spinning globe. It's not just a scary feeling, but it's also a liberating feeling. So it's good and it's bad all at once. At least this is my experience. It's like, oh my God, I was lied to for so long. I can't believe I fell for that. It was all a lie. But at the same time, I was interested in figuring it out and acquiring the new information. So I was upset at the same time. I was also excited. What about you guys? One FPV. What do you guys have to say about that?
For me, it was completely life changing, and I couldn't believe, kind of like everybody else, that I fell for all the bull stuff, you know. And then I wanted to look into it, and then I discovered that I was once again duped with the AE maps. So that was a bit disheartening. But then I ran into FPV, and it was kind of like an awakening for me yet again, because I don't know, in my soul, I felt that what he was showing me was the way to go. And it wasn't just me, it was actually in a live stream where I captured, I caught him and Cat's Eyes talking, but I could feel it all the way through my whole mind and soul that this is the direction. This is where I needed to go, and this is what was truth. So I followed it, and then here we are many years later.
Oh, and you've excelled really well, one. A fantastic job. You all are, everyone is. It never stops, Jake. We do this daily. We talk about things daily. We have got busy lives ourselves, but any chance we get, we're together, working more things out, decoding more things, putting lumps together for videos. You know, we've decoded
Well, I
more
think
than we
it's a
can
step.
actually output. You know, we've decoded
I
that
think
much. It's impossible to put it all into a video. There's too much stuff we've decoded, and, you know, some's important. The lesser important will probably come up in conversations like this, or, you know, in other videos and things. You know, it's not related or it's not so important, but it does fit in somewhere, you know. And this, you know, this is where other people can help. You know, what I'm noticing in this community, they're all giving their content to these gatekeepers and they're running off with it, basically. You know, there's a lot of fantastic channels out there doing amazing research. And, you know, they're letting their work get associated with absolute crap by, you know, applying it to debunkable maps and models. When, you know, they should be saying, hey, no, I don't, you know, don't put it there. I don't, you know, agree with that. The same with us, you know, they started using our research and trying to say it was coming from somewhere else. But, you know, we recognize our own research and we're not happy that they're doing it. You know, give us the credit for it. We've put the hours in and the time and effort that our research and decoding. It's not yours. You know, and we don't like them just running off it and bolting it to somewhat debunkable, because that's all they're doing. They're taking everyone's work and applying it to idiocy. And that's a shame, because there's some fantastic work out there done by a hell of a lot of people. You know, they probably don't see it or realize what's actually being done. Yeah, they'll get, you know, a bit of credit and promotion at the time, but then it becomes this group of people's discussion. It becomes their knowledge. You know, they take over everyone else's information and they present it like it's their own. That's all these people are actually doing. Scripted actors. They don't do any research. They're just looking at what everyone else is doing and taking it and making a show from it. The whole thing's scripted.
I think it's a step in the right direction that we get together, us channels outside the AE Map crew, and we have these discussions, because you know, if there's not that many of us, we should at least stick together. And so I think what we're doing here is a step in the right direction. There's, you know, a couple hundred people watching right now who are getting this new information. So we are putting this out into the ether, out into the atmosphere, and the truth is like a mighty lion. Like once you put it out there, it can do its own fighting. You know, once we end the stream, people can watch this and learn even after we finish the stream. So this is a step in the right direction, and I hope that we see more channels stepping up and doing this. But I wouldn't hold my breath, because there's just not that many left anymore that are still making content with a different idea. And then, of course, you have all these shills and gatekeepers. Like, for instance, the moon map guys. I wanted to ask, like, what do you guys say about the moon map guys? I think it's personally a load of garbage, but I wanted to hear your opinion on. I'm
the same on that, Jake. You know, to me, the moon's image is coming from the actual chamber that's projecting that image there. It's to me, it's you know, it's scorch marks, electrical arcing, it's shading. You know, that gives the impression of a 3D feature in the sky. But you know, for me, it's coming from below. They're all these images you see in the sky. You know, what we're seeing in the sky is what you would call the spirit world. That's the electromagnetism part of this technology showing. That's why they call it a spirit world. The spirit world's electromagnetism. So, you know, where was it going with that?
Moon map.
Moon map, yeah, moon map. So, you know, to me, yeah, in reverse quick. Yeah, moon map to me, it's just more pizza map nonsense, you know.
Well, I noticed these guys will pop up.
I see you did do a video, and you know, to me, it's another one of Sideshow Bob's side channels. Distracting.
Yeah, these models will pop up, and they'll start to actually gain a following. And I look at like Viba Cosmo, the moon map guy that says the entire moon is a map. He's up to, you know, 50,000 subs or whatever, and people in the chat are just like, "This is it, man. This is the one." And it's like, we don't even know what this person looks like. We don't know this person's name. It's just some guy making moon map videos.
It's mostly silent movies, isn't it? He's not talking about it or anything. He's just showing images.
And then there's another guy that does an entirely different moon psyop deal, where he says that we live inside of a moon crater, and that Hitler is Walt Disney, and Walt Disney World is a map of the world and how you exit this realm. And so there's a guy that says we live inside of a crater on the moon, and when he zooms into the crater, he says our world fits inside that little crater. But then you're stuck with an AE map style map inside of a crater, right? And so that guy is
no evidence
further
whatsoever.
crazy.
No evidence whatsoever that we're actually in a crater, because we're all above water. So where's the crater?
And these guys have overproduced videos and graphics that look extremely professional at times. And it makes me wonder, like, how these, like, where these channels just spring up from, like, who's really behind it. Because here's my thing is, like, let's say one of these moon map guys is right. Well, that means the other guy is completely freaking wrong. If the whole map of the moon is a map, if the moon is a map, then that means the guy that says we live in a crater is full of shit. And if the guy that says we live in a crater is right, then that means the guy that says the whole moon is a map is full of shit. And that's only if one of them is right. And I think both of them are wrong. So just having two moon map guys with a completely different idea means that somebody's full of shit at the very minimum if somebody's right.
There's probably a mod lock there for every imagination. There probably is. But, at the end of the day, you've got to get down to real research and prove that it works or doesn't. And that's all we've been doing from the start. We're trying to prove this. We've proven the map as far as we're concerned. No, the map we got the guy off, he's actually a 4D guy. He's never actually researched, what we've done with the map. He had no interest in because he's 4D. He thinks it just loops.
Now, what is this that we're looking on the screen?
This is more of Walter Russell's work, and you can see how the sine wave comes into this. Male, female, positive, negative. It's and he's showing you violations that can and can't work in this kind of configuration. So he's showing you how this technology actually manipulates the ether, like with the waveforms one showed you with the jet stream or the Milky Way. This is how this light interacts in the ether. It has to be done like this. Oh, he says before about the guy hides his face. There's a couple of reasons I hide mine. One, this is not about me. We can't make this about us. None of this research has anything to do with presenting me as some guy with ego or something. We can't go down that route. This is our research and what we find and we present to the people. So, no ego here, guys. Just knowledge that we're gaining from many topics and fields that we research.
Now, someone brought up a name in chat I haven't heard in a while. I think there was this flat earther who used to do these experiments where around Massachusetts area, he would do these like distance experiments with buildings, and he would show that, like, if you look at it from the south 15 miles away and then you look at it from the north 15 miles away, that it would be like two completely different views of the building, and it would look like it's farther in one picture than the other, even though they're both 15 miles away. And I can't quite remember which way he said that you could see further, but he claimed that the earth was a level plane that was slightly tilted. I forget his name. I think someone in chat just brought him up though. And I don't know if you guys had ever heard of that guy or ever remember hearing about a guy that said we live on a tilted plane. But I found that to be an interesting observation where he would say that, these buildings from the same distance in different directions were looking like way farther away or extra close.
Oh, that could have atmospheric effects going on as well. A lot of people don't seem to take into account the atmosphere and how it does play a part in this, especially at distance. And, the effects of this technology have to be taken into account, which, does explain a lot of things that we're actually seeing. We're going to, we will make a video about that and go into detail about that more, which would probably help people doing these long distance flat earth proofs a bit more. What you do, the effects you're actually up against in the atmosphere. Sometimes you can see further one day than you can another day. These are localized events to every location in the world, basically, and you have to be aware of them and know when they're taking place, because this is where the pressure changes comes into this. We get pressure changes twice a day. This is this technology creating the pressure. Those halos generate what I would call the spiraling waves of electromagnetism. That's the breath of angels. That's what we call wind. This is they generate what we call wind. This is them creating the winds, and that's our pressure system. That electrical pressure can be detected when it's above water, and this is what's pushing the tides in and out. When they switch on, the tide's going to react. All the waters are going to react into this technology, and if you watch it on certain maps, you'll see it spiraling in all kinds of directions because it is spiral. The whole motion is spiral.
And what do you say?
Technology.
what do you say to people like Mitch here, who says that it's a Pac-Man sun? So Mitch here says Pac-Man sun, and then he has a laughing emoji, as if it's not funny to think that the sun's going around the North Pole in a circle. So when people say stuff like this, what is your response to a guy like Mitch?
Well, our model isn't a Pac-Man sun. It does have a return east, and it's been covered before in the 12 Gates presentation One Conscience done. That's the Egyptian gate, the 12 Gates book, or the Book of the Dead. It's detailing the sun's return path in the underworld, which they call solar rejuvenation, which to us it's on a recharge cycle. It's recharging going east. So, and that's the light in the sky you're seeing and detecting, calling the ISS. It's actually illuminating. It's like the sun halo. It's illuminating parts of this technology crossing the sky because it's not fully switched off. It's just been suppressed. The flyback killer. That's the flyback killer returning east.
Shay agrees. She says, not a Pac-Man sun. All right.
No, definitely.
Because that's the first thing people. That's the first thing people say is like AE mappers are like, oh, Pac-Man sun's teleporting. You got a teleporting sun, and they really stick on that
when in reality
their pizza.
When in reality it's theirs that's Pac-Manning, because there's a circular and going in circles. They've completely hidden east and west on the date lines on their map, which hides where it's coming from and going to on our map. So, circling sun nonsense. It's a Pac-Man sun. Doesn't work. No sun is circling.
And if you go to the scientific websites, they show you, like timeanddate.com or SunCalc or whatever, they show the sun going across the Mercator. They don't show it on the AE map. So
yeah, we've checked all that kind of data. It works perfect on this map. It's where the luminary is exactly where they say they are on this map. You can't really debunk that. We've tried. So if Globus come at us, I'll say, well, just let me know when you've debunked time and date then, because that's our data, not yours. That's the Mercator. That's not a globe. So the time and date belongs to this map. So there's aircraft data. All world data is coming from this map. That's what we know now. It's all coming from this map.
So before we wrap up here, FPV, did you have anything left you wanted to share? And then maybe we could do a couple quick questions, and then we can wrap this thing up. So if there's anything left that you wanted to share.
I would just say to the people in the chat and anyone else that finds this video, what we're searching is very real, very serious, and very now. And world politics is reacting to it. This whole community, the Flat Earth movement itself is accelerating their plans, and things are going to get worse and worse. So download what you can, save what you can, because in the future plan for being off grid at some point, and you're going to need entertainment and videos to watch. So download the videos. I mean, we've put lots of videos out over the years. You might not understand it all straight away. We don't expect people to understand all our research. There's just so much of it, but you will find you've got to find the bits where you can link into it. It's all down to your own knowledge base and interests, what you find in our research and how you connect to it. And you're all going to have your own revelations when you see it. We know you are. So that's what I'd say to the people watching any of our research, Jay.
What's that?
That's what I would say to anyone watching our research. Research it, have a look into it yourself. You try and debunk it. We can't.
Awesome. And I just pumped your link in the chat. So this is FPV Angel in One Conscience here, and you can definitely go check out their channel and give them a like or give them a sub if you're into the content that they're putting out. And I would definitely like to have you guys on again in the future so that we could get into even more in-depth discussions about this, because I'm trying to turn this channel back into like the Flat Earth hub now that I'm back into it. With this new information, I'm rejuvenated. There's lots to talk about. So I would love to have you on again and compare and contrast some research that we do from here on out. So thank you for coming on with me today.
You can count on it, Jake, because that's what I want people to do. People need to see there's more going on in this community than pizza map work. I mean, they haven't got any work, have they? We are doing research, and there's plenty of other channels doing research that aren't related to those pizza maps. So don't give up, people. There's plenty of people doing things out there, and we're not going to go away anytime soon. So yeah, we'll be back, definitely.
And Rose says, any simple tips, observations I can make day to day to understand this outside?
Yes, go and start mapping where you see rainbows, and you're going to find they live there and reside where you see them. You just seen them. When you see a rainbow, just remember where you saw it last, and next time you see it, you might see it at a different angle, but it's still the same rainbow in the same location, and then the light spectrum just caused it to revolve around more. So yeah, go and start mapping your rainbows, and you're going to find they connect to larger or smaller ones, and you're going to start seeing what we're seeing on coming to life below the grid. We're showing you what's in the underworld basically with this mapping. The underworld, the underworld is the angel's prison. The holy books tell you this. It's not lying. You just forgot what angels are. They're personified technologies.
Yep. And if you want to get a little bit deeper and you want to do a little bit more, once you locate this rainbow, you could take an EMF detector out and possibly even find the perimeter of these areas, this technology below.
Yeah, watch
Some
the
might be
clouds.
bigger. Yeah, some will be bigger, some will be smaller, but it should be trackable. Like you should be able to do
Yeah.
that. And if you get a drone, you could attach it, take it up in the sky, and try to figure out how big this thing is.
Globe Skeptic says, thanks for the live stream, Jake, FPV Angel, and One Conscience. It was excellent. Glad you guys enjoyed it.
Yep, fantastic night. It's always a good night chatting about reality, isn't it? This is somewhere else you religious people need to consider. Remember, we were handed these religions by invading armies. What did your ancestors believe before then? Because there's no such thing as pagan. They were not worshipping false idols. They were portraying the Creator's glory. They were glorifying it with all these temples and monuments. That's what it represents. All this symbology, what you're calling satanic, all those effigies, all those glyphs, they're very special. Just because you don't understand them doesn't make them not special, because they are.
All right. So we can go ahead and wrap this thing up. I think that was a good stream, and it gives us some room to talk about more stuff in the future. So we'll go ahead and sign off here. Anything left you guys want to say before we go ahead and end this stream? I want to thank everyone for being here. It's been a fun one for me. I learned a lot, and I want to thank everyone who commented and donated and all that good stuff. I'll go back and watch the chat replay and see all the chats that I missed. I always watch the replay. So anything you guys want to say before we sign off here, FPV or One Conscience?
I'll let you go first, one.
I just want to say thanks for having us on. It was fun. It was a great conversation. And thanks to all the chats for showing up.
And the same from me, Jake. Thanks for having us on, mate. It's nice to meet you and eventually speak to you at last. We have watched you for, we've watched you for a number of years and hoped you would get away from that lot, and you have. Well done. And, we'll definitely be back. A very enjoyable night. Look forward to more.
All right. And if you ever want me to come on over and jump in, with you guys on a stream or something, I would be available to do that as well. So, all right, guys, thank you for joining us. Andy says, I don't want it to end. Yeah, all good things must come to an end. If we stream for too long, you'll eventually get tired of it. So we gotta leave you fully entertained before you get tired of us. So with that said, this is the one and only Jake the Asshole. Got FPV Angel One Conscience, and we are signing out. I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Take care.